Yo, what's up, bro? How you doing? Yo, yo. Oh, shoot, my hair.
My work is easy because I use ClickUp. Here's how I keep track of all my tasks. I start by brain dumping everything I need to get done.
He's in the Battlefront party, PlayStation party.
Hey, what's up, guys?
I think.
Michael Jordan.
All right. Chat. We are going to be doing some reactions. First up, this one seems pretty interesting. Then every NBA player's most shameful scandal explained in 29 minutes. I love basketball, so we're gonna watch about that, and then we're gonna end on Reddit Wendigo encounters. So that's the run. I take like 2 hours. We'll see. Here we go.
I think the main advice I give myself is just to not give up and keep striving and stay sober.
He was one of the people who passed like that, like what one of the celebrities that passed, I believe, from ODing. So we'll just see his life story and to see what this little documentary is about, because it says his life was a cry for help, so we'll see.
Few artists have dared to bare their soul like Juice WRLD.
That's just a part of me touching on emotions that people really be scared to touch on.
His triumphant rise, paired with introspective lyrics that felt ripped from the pages of a diary.
I could express myself in songs sometimes more than I could talk, you know?
And his tragic death built a legacy that's both massive and painfully fragile.
This morning, so many questions as to how a seemingly healthy 21-year-old could die so unexpectedly.
Through his music, Juice invited us into his world of triumph and torment, laying his vulnerability bare for all to see.
He was saying, like, basically, like he wanted to die, some shit, like.
That's crazy. You wanted to die. The thing is, like, a lot of people's mental health is whacked up nowadays. People really be tripping.
This is the story of Juice WRLD.
So what's good, Jack? What's good?
Juice WRLD's story starts in...
That is not him. That is not him. That's not him. That is not him.
Chicago. Born December 2nd, 1998 as Jared Anthony Higgins. His parents' divorce at age 3 was just the beginning of life's hard lessons. Raised by his devout, conservative mom in the south suburbs, Juice grew up in a house where hip-hop was banned like contraband. So he found inspiration in unexpected places. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and Guitar Hero.
Was Guitar Hero really all that? Never played a day in my life.
Those games opened his ears to rock icons like Billy Idol and Black Sabbath. It wasn't the playlist of a future rap icon, but it taught him one thing: rules were made to be broken. His music journey, however, started even earlier. At 4 years old, his mom signed him up for piano lessons, unknowingly setting the stage for his future career. By middle school, he wasn't just playing piano anymore. He was shredding on the guitar, smashing the drums, and even rocking the trumpet in band class.
The trumpet. Do they learn how to play trumpet in school? Is that a thing? Like, I'm homeschooled. I feel like I've never heard of someone. I just from band, like marching band.
Start rapping, because I seen the video of you rapping for over an hour, freestyling for an hour. So how did you start rapping?
That was on Tim Westwood's show.
Tim Westwood.
Tim Westwood. Rockin' you, rockin' you, rockin' you.
I ain't gonna lie, it really started because my mom she used to be super strict when I was like a little kid on the music I could listen to. And I used to go over to my cousin's crib and bump Wayne, Gucci, Jeezy, Jewels, you know what I'm saying, everything. And I'd come back home and be reciting the lyrics in my head and forget some of them. And then I just add my own lyrics in there to fill it.
That's actually really interesting. I feel like people actually could do that just in general. And a lot of people, that's why they like sample people's beats or cover on people's beats. Did they take like inspiration from a song and then do whatever with
And then
it?
that's just how I started. I was like 4, 5 years old doing that. So like
Matthew, yo, what's up, bro? How you doing?
eventually I think
How you doing?
I started freestyling on some random shit, and I
What
got
is
good
reacting
at
to
it.
some
And
videos
I
right
just
now?
it's always been something I was able to do.
Then he discovered lean, and with
Bro.
it came a darker shift.
Wait, what? Technoblade hit 20 million? What was he at before? Let me see. What was Technoblade at before? Techno. What the heck, dude? What was he at before? Oh, trailer for 20 million. Huh. Let's see. He gained 10 million after he died.
I think
guess he did.
Skyblock at its core is the ultimate challenge.
Let's watch this actually. Pause the video real fast. Let's react to this real fast. A lot of people do that after they die though. Then it's sad, but it'll like grow more. R.I.P.
Hey guys, I'd just like to preface this video with an explanation of what goes on because when I am concentrated, I don't talk at all.
Was that Technoblade? And then when in the first video, jeez. I mean, to be fair, I sounded very childish in my old videos.
There's only 2 ways you can react to this video. By subscribing or by calling the police.
You should consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. I said you guys should consider subscribing to my YouTube channel.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Why not? I'm an unbiased source. My videos aren't entirely garbage sometimes.
Subscribe to my channel. Oh god, he's got jump boost. And none of it matters. Subscribe to Technoblade. Subscribe to Technoblade.
Yeah,
My
subscribe.
god, subscribe to Technoblade.
Y'all better subscribe.
Pretty sure this is it. 99,000. Yes. Yes. One more. Yes! I
W.
win all the prizes. Quick, call my mom.
Nice. Well, guys, we did it. 1 million subscribers. I am now officially a big boy. We are right on the cusp
Wow.
of 7 million subscribers. I mean, we're just inches away. So if you could just subscribe and give us that last push we need. 10 million subscribers. Let's go. It's a larger number. That means I'm a better person now.
Oh wow, is that the last
10
milestone he
million
hit?
people have joined.
Is that the last milestone he hit? Was 10 million before he died? You said he gained 10 million after he died. So was the last like goal he hit before he passed 10 mil? That's what I'm assuming.
the channel since Techno passed.
He'd be losing his mind seeing that he's this close to 20 mil.
Technoblade was cracking the YouTube algorithm before we had like any.
Yeah. And when did he pass? When did Technoblade die? What, 2021? 2022. So, geez, he gained 10 mil. So he had 10 mil in general. And then in less than 3 years gained another 10 million. Without really posting content except for posthumous content from his dad. Jeez.
Any knowledgeable data.
20 million subscribers is a very impressive milestone.
Congratulations on 20 million subs. That's crazy.
You're a bloody legend, Techno.
I don't know where I would be without having ever met Techno.
Technoblade never dies.
Technoblade never dies.
You guys are probably wondering, Technoblade, is there going to be a video for 100K? Yes. Give me some time to make it. Give me a little bit of time to make a slightly less mediocre
RIP.
than usual video. Anyhow, until then, see you guys.
That was dope to see this thing within the Minecraft thing. But that's what I'm saying. A lot of celebrities have died really young. It sucks, but it's cool to see when people pay like tributes or like discuss and bring attention to their life.
What is lean? Lean is a slang term for codeine cough syrup. It's also known by the names of purple trank and scissor. And it's a form of opiate that has been popularized in southern rap scenes of Houston and Atlanta. Codeine is a milder opiate, but it's still addictive and can be lethal when mixed with alcohol. Lean also contains promethazine, which is a prescription antihistamine that, while not addictive in itself, can be very harmful in large doses.
You always had issues with drugs even before you started to get famous and rich?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was something that I was into early, low-key, due to music. Cause like, I was a music head, so like in 6th grade, 7th grade, I'm hearing songs about sipping lean. Those are like the real influence.
That's the thing. The reason people's parents don't want them listening to this crap when they're younger is because you have a lot more influence when you're younger compared to like when you're older. You have more self-control and more like identification of what's good and what's bad for you.
Influential years, I feel like, especially for like a boy, like finding out who your role models are, what you like, basketball, football. That's like when you start kind of choosing the dreams you want to chase, damn near.
Right.
It depends on your usage, bro. Like, some people could drink casually, sip casually all their lives and be perfectly okay. Because I feel like if you sip casually, it's identical to what alcohol does to your liver if you get drunk.
Yeah.
But you have those people that take it to the extreme. Like, for the example, I think Wayne had said after a while, he wasn't even pouring codeine with pop. He was drinking it straight out the bottle, like drinking it raw.
Things only got worse in high school.
He just didn't have and focus like in school. He hated school. Very, very smart.
Me too. School sucks.
But he didn't like the idea of school, so it was always a struggle with him in school and, you know, skipping school, skipping classes, so I always had to have a plan for him.
Struggling in school, he was eventually prescribed meds for focus, but that spiraled into addiction to Percocet and Xanax.
In high school, he had therapy because he had impulsive
meds for focus.
Why does it look so low quality? Didn't he graduate in probably like 2010s? Why does it look like it was taken in the 80s or 90s?
But that spiraled into addiction to Percocet and Xanax.
In high school, he had therapy because he had impulsive behavior. So I had him see a psychologist. So he was used to communicating and really getting in touch with his feelings.
Still, high school wasn't all bad. It's where his entertainment career truly began.
My school has a radio show, and when I first decided to like become a rapper, I was on there and I would like freestyle. It was ran by my homie Jalen. He was another artist at my school, and he just kind of created a platform for me to like freestyle, like just to get it out a little bit.
What a real one.
You know, shout out to Jalen. He's in the military now. Shout out to Jalen.
Eventually, as a freshman, armed with just a cell phone, Juice recorded and uploaded his first track forever on SoundCloud under the name Juice the Kid.
Well, my music...
Bro, SoundCloud was crazy just for like that era. It like got so many people famous. You could use it for free. And then after the verification stuff.
It's like, I don't overthink it. Music is really just like people love to
that use like copyrighted stuff. I think as long as you weren't monetizing it, right?
Hear something that came out that was good, that's natural, that doesn't sound forced, it sounds authentic. People love that.
His name was inspired by Tupac's legendary role in the film Juice, where savage ambition and survival collide. It was a fitting tribute to a rap icon and a signal of Juice's own hunger to rise above his struggles and claim his place in the music world.
Shit.
From 1991, featuring Big Daddy Kane.
Hey.
Because you are Juice
WRLD, man.
And here is the Juice soundtrack.
What the fuck? This is like one of my favorite movies. This is one of the reasons I got my name. For sure, I had his haircut. This is wild. This is crazy.
Yeah, he died too
You're
young.
like blessing me right now.
He also died young.
This is crazy as fuck.
After rebranding as Juice WRLD, he dropped his debut full-length EP 999 in June 2017. The standout track, Lucid Dreams, became a breakthrough hit, skyrocketing his popularity and setting the stage for his rise to stardom.
Funny, because I wrote that song in like 15 minutes. And then on the original mixtape that it was on, I didn't think that was gonna be it was just another song. Like, obviously I liked it enough to put it on the project, but I didn't think that was gonna be the smash. Like I said, Lucid Dreams, I wasn't rushing to write that song. I wrote it in 15 minutes. Some of the best songs I've I've made in like 15, 20.
This one's still being played. Like, what was it, Fortnite? When they did that collab. I think that was the song they used. Was it not? For the trailer. I believe so.
Minutes. It's just off the strength of my work ethic.
And yet, this was only the prologue. His journey to greatness was only beginning. With 999, Juice WRLD found his stride. Released just as he graduated high school and stepped into adulthood, the EP gave him an audience.
Did he actually say that? Did he actually say that? Or was it like fan
With
edited?
999, Juice WRLD found his stride. Released just as he graduated high school and
this. I've seen edits of him. I feel like this is definitely. Maybe I'm wrong, but is this edited? I feel like this is definitely edited in.
Stepped into adulthood, the EP gave him an audience. As Lucid Dreams went viral, riding the haunting waves of Sting's Shape of My Heart, Juice looked like a fresh face with an old, classy, and sensitive heart.
When I was making the song, actually the original sample, Sting, Shape of My Heart, I was watching a movie, The Professional, Leon the Professional. It was an outro song. I heard it. I thought it was crazy. I had to flip it into my own beat. That's when I heard it. And then
I love when people do that. Like, I was scrolling TikTok earlier, and someone like sampled Hey Jagger. I think it's like when people are able to do stuff like that, it's very impressive. So you're able to like you're flipping like a different genre into a completely different genre sometimes with the sample of I Wonder.
And yeah, that's pretty much where I got the sample from.
Sting himself was flattered about the sample, and it hinted at Juice's knack for drawing from the past to craft something new.
Are you familiar with Lucid Dreams?
Of course I am.
From Juice WRLD, and what are your thoughts on that song?
I love that version. I mean, that song's been covered easily 50 times, maybe more. But that's probably my favorite.
It's laudable that Juice drew inspiration from music that came out long before he was born. But while the instrumentation has depth, his lyrics often stick to familiar themes: designer clothes, cash, women, and drugs. Territory well tread by his auto-tuned contemporaries.
I could do what I want with a song if I had a good idea.
Again, it has to be a filter. Maybe I'm just tripping. Okay, this is a filter.
Like a good mindset, I can make like lit music, you know what I'm saying? Even if I'm talking about something that's completely random, it's the energy that the song has that'll make it a good song. How do you think people get on the radio with saying one word for 2 minutes? Bitch, bitch, bitch. They're generating a lot of good vibes, so the bitch sounds kind of hard.
This people do. That's all modern day music is. If you go back and listen to old music, there's like rhyme and reason to it, but some songs just have literally no rhyme and reason. They'll be saying like random crap. Like, move like Jagger. Can someone break down to me what that means? She got the moves like Jagger. Like, okay, like, that's cool and all, but like, what does that mean? Oh, like freaking Gen Alpha is gonna be awful. Gen Alpha, it's either funk or it's like stupid like Skibbity Toilet. And that's just the same thing over and over again on a funk beat.
And on songs like Lost Her, the constant repetition doesn't come across as clever minimalism. It feels like he's grasping for words. Juice WRLD had the tools to break the mold, but was still learning how to use them. Looking back, 999 feels more like a demo than a polished album. A rough draft that, against all odds and maybe even a bit prematurely, blasted Juice WRLD into a realm of fame and success he wasn't yet ready for. proof that the universe loves a wild card.
What I felt when my music started to take off was just kind of like this feeling of, it was real, like surreal, you know? It was almost like I couldn't believe it was happening. I wasn't gonna ever sell out, but just trying to put out my version of like what I think is like a polished product.
Right.
So I never really had that thought in my mind like, oh, what if they don't? Because it was almost as if they like it, they like it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't really like nervous about it at all.
Love games but hate the grind?
And
with WeMod, you can be invincible, unimaginably wealthy.
No.
December 2017 marked another milestone with the
What
release
color am I
of the
looking at, dude?
3-song EP, Nothing's Different. One track, All Girls Are the Same, caught fire
Wasn't that song
thanks to
also
a
like
feature
massive?
on the hip-hop blog Lyrical Lemonade. Fast forward to February 2018, and the Cole Bennett directed music video sent the song into overdrive.
I had no idea that Lucid Dreams and All Girls Are the Same were gonna blow up. Not like belittling like my songs. I just thought they were, you know, just songs to post.
It wasn't long before Interscope Records signed Juice for a whopping $3 million deal.
So you went.
Was that just a flat rate? Was he not getting like royalties? Or any cuts? If that's an awful deal, I mean, it's not an awful deal because, like, who knows, you might fall off and just be at a level of 3 million, but if you're getting nothing else and then every other, like, part of income is going to your label, that's insane.
From a huge SoundCloud artist to signing with Interscope.
Yeah.
What made you do the deal with Interscope, and how did Interscope ever feel you and hear you and reach out to you?
What made me do that deal was it was like, it felt the most home, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I was just waiting for what was best for me. And so we went to a few labels, you know, had a couple meetings and shit. And that was what felt the best. You know, that was the best deal, so how could we refuse?
You got a $3 million deal, right?
$3 million.
Yeah. That felt good too.
Man, damn, I pissed myself.
That's insane. That should be something.
Everybody was on my dick by the time I got back home. Like, I got back home, I woke up the next morning, my phone blown up. Like, what you on? Let's smoke. Let's do this. Let's like, nah, I'm staying in the crib. Motherfucker, I'm telling you, bro, that shit weird, bro. Like, that shit changed people.
Critics couldn't get enough of All Girls Are the Same. Sure, it's bratty and over the top, but it's also incredibly catchy and oddly charming, with Juice coming across as a heartbroken guy just trying to figure it all out. Tell me what's the secret to love. I don't get it. Juice drones in that flat, hypnotic tone of his. It's not flashy, but it cuts deep. Simple, moody, and
drown? Or was that like a weird reverb?
Impossible to forget. Even Pitchfork gave it the nod as Best New Music. By April, it hit the Billboard Hot 100 at number 92, while Lucid Dreams climbed to number 74.
I like
By
that
May, Lucid Dreams had already peaked at number 2 on the Hot 100, becoming one of the most streamed songs of the year.
Jeez.
Man, I'm just making music,
Right
man.
off the bat.
Spreading my music, bro. Giving people something to relate to.
That same month, he dropped Lean With Me, which hit number 68 on the same chart.
Was that modern day? He was already
The very
at
next
12
day,
million.
he finally released his official date.
Was this like, is this now? Or was this like, at that point in time, he already had 12 million? Dude, that's
debut
insane.
album, Goodbye and Good Riddance.
Goodbye, Good Riddance. It's on all streaming platforms. It's just a piece of myself I put out for people to hear. Yeah. Really. I could have honestly put probably like 30 or 40 other songs on the project. I'm sitting on like a lot of music, so it could have been a whole different project. It was kind of hard to pick and choose what songs to put in.
Think of Goodbye and Good Riddance as a breakup diary, messy, moody, and drenched in teenage drama. Juice WRLD's heartbreak is the star of the show, and he leans into it hard.
You could draw a lot of artistic parallels between this and a lot of the moody, spacey trap sounds that we've been hearing artists explore over the past few years, but Juice seems to consciously be mixing these sounds with elements of emo music.
The album cover sets the tone. A campy cartoon of Juice peeling out in a car, middle finger raised, leaving his ex in the dust. It's petty, over the top, and yet totally fitting. Juice spends the album singing to a vague you. But let's be real, he's really singing to himself.
What does that even mean?
His heartbreak is loud, performative, and oddly stylish. It's heartbreak chic, and nobody's better at playing the part than Juice WRLD.
How many times have you had your heart broken?
Honestly, probably like once or twice.
Just once or twice?
Yeah.
Now, even though there are some tracks on this thing that I legitimately love.
I was about to say what kind of question is that, but also like relates to the album. So I was about to say, oh, what kind of question is that? If someone asked me that kind of question randomly, I would be weirded out though.
And sort of make me look forward to hopefully a brighter future for Juice WRLD. There are plenty of cuts on here where I think vocally, emotionally, lyrically, he does go a little overboard, bordering on being obnoxious or just kind of feeling like the sadness of this record is very forced.
Thankfully, the music doesn't feel stuck. There's a brutal emotional punch to his songs with his weepy groans and emo snarls, perfectly complementing the blunt honesty of his lyrics. Sure, he tends to tell rather than show his feelings, but the immediacy of his emotions keeps the music compelling. Even the simplest sing-song couplets can overshadow clunky lines like, "I'm on the drugs way too much," and get trapped in your head like they were meant to be there all along.
We don't talk about it from a good point of view or a bad point of view. We talk about it from a realistic point of view. So it's like, well,
and that's valid though. I'd rather people not sugarcoat stuff. Like if you're gonna be honest, make a story or tell a story. Be honest.
Going through how we feel if we're with, you know what I'm saying, if we ain't doing it at the moment, if it's, you know what I'm saying, if I'm hurting, you know what I'm saying, like it's a realistic point of view when it comes to like the shit that motherfuckers experiment with and shit that people, you know, shit that I've been through. So
what makes the album stand out is its unmistakable emo rap vibe. Nick Mira, Juice WRLD's go-to producer.
Why is it the HQC? Editor. Why is it the HQC?
Leans into the mood with syrupy synths and restless trap snares, amplifying the drama of Juice's lyrics. The whole album feels drenched in this sound, a kind of gloomy, emotional fog that ties every track together.
They say that you make like sad music, right?
Yeah.
So is that maybe because of a result of that, those, you know what I mean?
I mean, I feel like the reason why I make that type of music is that's just a part of me touching on emotions that people really be scared to touch on. Like, yeah, so I feel like as far as all the sad music I make, it's either stuff that I may have went through, stuff that my homie may have went through, just something that I feel like people need to relate to and stuff to get them through shit. That's really be the source behind that shit.
Yeah, relatability and like just lyricism and hooks are what really carries music nowadays. Or opium. Just Playboy Tardy, he's insanely popular for no reason.
June 19th, he released a 2-song EP titled Too Soon as a tribute to late rappers Lil Peep and XXXTentacion.
I felt like it was very important to memorialize X and Peep because they are people that have changed music for everybody. I had no type of relationship with Peep at all. I was really speaking from a fan standpoint. But what Josh said, I don't want to say we were friends, but we had quite a few deep conversations. He had nothing but positive advice to give me and,
that's dope.
You know, just like trying to give me guidance and stuff. You know, he was a very intelligent, talented person. All you can do, you keep them in your hearts and remember them for all like the great things that they've done and learn from them.
But that's really sad because he's talking about it and then it happened to him. Sucks.
So you won't end up in the same situation.
Lil Peep had passed away from an overdose in 2017, while X was tragically murdered just one day before the EP's release.
Me and X planned to hang out. We had a couple like deep
So
conversations.
he
Talked on the
recorded that
phone
in one night.
a few times. He had nothing but positive stuff to say. For real. From his point of view, we didn't really see eye to eye like that, but we had respect for each other at the end of the day. That's what was gonna kind of lead into a friendship. It's two different personalities. His mindset is on a whole nother. You know what I'm saying?
The following month, Juice released Wasted featuring Lil Uzi Vert. It was his first ever collaborative single and the only track on Goodbye and Good Riddance with a guest feature.
Dang.
Some people just get high to numb themselves so they won't feel certain things. When you get to a certain point of intoxication, you're unable to operate. Like your motor skills become very out of pocket.
The song debuted at number 68 on the Hot 100 and peaked at 67 the next week.
Peaking that fast is insane. His first studio album peaking at what top 10 is that?
Later that month, Juice also announced his first tour, World Domination, and most importantly, revealed he was already working on his next album, keeping fans excited for what was coming next.
Galactacy. So what is this, post-death, post-mortem?
I ran into some Percocets my freshman year, 14, 15 years old, 13, 14, whatever the fuck that age is. I ran into some Percocets my freshman year. Niggas was calling me and my homie Clucks, right?
That has to be what?
2 years later, 3 years later, Future dropped 56 Nights. By the way, Future is the GOAT. Niggas is hitting my phone like, will you get all them perks from them Zans? Like, cause of some music. And like I said, I don't know if I said this earlier in here or in some having a convo with somebody else, but hearing that music at such a young age, nigga.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you do you, but like if you're gonna listen to that, you don't let your kids listen to it at like 5 or 6 or that. Make them wait, because it has a lot of influence, especially at younger ages. Before discernment, it's part of like maturity.
Listening to Dirty Sprite 1 and True Story. So it's like it's the people that doing that shit because they like getting high and they going through stuff and they like addicted, like, and then there's the people that do it for trends. And for the people that's really in the shit, it's not as easy as seeing somebody die. And be like, oh my God, that's a wake up call. I'm gonna stop. It'll make you think like, damn, I don't want that to happen to me. But at the same time, you already addicted. Your body is screaming for that shit.
Right. October 2019 brought us World on Drugs, the joint mixtape from Future and Juice WRLD.
Like many of these other suddenly dropped collaborative albums from top name rappers, this thing is very much a mixed bag.
Critics may have given it a lukewarm reception, but honestly, this tape is a vibe. From its trippy, vibrant cover art to the euphoric, intoxicating tracks like Shorty, Ain't Living Right, and Hard Work Pays Off, it's an experience that feels both wavy and electrifying. Sure, it's not perfect, but the aesthetic and energy alone make it a standout moment in their catalogs. Jet Lag is pure fire. Juice's hook is impossible to get out of your head, and he, Future, and Young Scooter bounce off each other perfectly.
A Young Scooter.
Then comes Astronauts, where Juice and Future flex their chemistry, trading slick bars and flows over an icy trap beat that hits hard. This is what makes this project so enjoyable. Collab albums don't need to reinvent the wheel, but they do need chemistry, and Juice and Future have that in spades. Their melodic, spacey trap sound might not be new for either of them, but when the quality stays high, who cares? Take Hard Work Pays Off, for example. It might be the best track on the album. Juice's hook is ridiculously infectious, and Future rides the beat just as smoothly, riffing on Juice's lines and making them his own. The whole tape is packed with moments like this where the duo just works. There are far more hits than misses, making this collab a solid win.
I mean, yeah, for a solid album, all you really need is like just perfect albums. Before a solid album, you just need like 70% of the songs to be good. But if you have like 8 misses on an album.
First time I met Future was actually last year. I started working on the project, Chalice Studios, and I think that's West Hollywood. When he had made Beast Mode 2, Wi-Fi lit, and I had posted like, oh, this is fire, because it's fire. He responded to me on Twitter, and then we locked in and made the World on Drugs project.
If we're being real, Juice carried the album, but let's stop acting like Future didn't bring anything to the table. Sure, he's not a lyrical powerhouse.
What is that? They got him lacking out this picture. What is this his locked in? Is it flow state? Flow state?
But his melodies, hooks, and overall style helped shape the tape's vibe. And here's the kicker. This collab wasn't just a creative move, it was a strategic one. It put Juice in front of Future's massive fan base, giving...
I like that style. I've never seen someone do a silver fox leather jacket and a flannel. What, Rolex maybe? Rolex? Is that a glove or is that a sand? Glasses are tough.
Him the boost
that
like turned him into a household name. Keep hating if you want, but this partnership worked exactly how it was supposed to.
What is it that drives you to go that hard though?
The love for music. That shit is
love for the game.
Music gets me high. You know, other people say that, but like I think
this shit really music is a drug.
Right. It puts me in another place. Music it has intoxicating effects on me and my soul. So like, I've always been attracted to music, and then to be able to have a platform to make the thing that I'm attracted to and be like the creator of the shit that people fuck with, it puts me in just a mindset where that's all I want to do. I love performing too, but I think I love recording the most. I love creating and recording the most.
Are you an established business owner looking for ways to secure the funding that you need to either grow or scale your...
Just a few months later, in March 2019, Juice dropped his second studio album, Death Race for Love.
I kind of got that.
I've heard about that one. Yeah, I've heard like the stories about that one. 2 weeks, I think it was freestyled in. Went #1.
Idea from one of the songs on the project called Alpine and/or Rider. The song's called Rider. Twisted Metal was one of my favorite games coming up. It's like
cool.
What the heck is happening?
And I thought I'd just incorporate Twisted Metal and like a death race to like hanging on to a relationship or doing what you have to do to maintain a relationship or going through hell to fix something or to get somebody back. It's just pretty much what it consists of. But the album is it's a little bit of everything. It's not just rap, it's not just rock, it's not just jazz, alternative, it's like a little bit of everything.
It kicks off with Empty, where Juice lays it all out, admitting he uses drugs to numb his pain.
That's something that I feel like a lot of people neglect, which is completely and utterly wrong. And me speaking from an African-American man, I know that this stuff is neglected in like our community. You know, you tell your mom, your dad, your auntie, whoever that you feel like you got anxiety, you feel like you got depression, you feel like you got ADD, whatever. They don't look at you like you're crazy.
This raw honesty carries into tracks like Robbery, where Juice's slam poet style takes center stage. In a cinematic moment, he channels John Cusack from Say Anything, trying to win back his girl with lines like, "I'm throwing rocks at your window, I need to go home." Juice might be open about his emotions, but he's still cautious. Case in point, he names the song Emotions, as if poking fun at his own vulnerability to keep his masculinity intact. This duality runs through his music. And in this album, Juice comes across as a Jekyll and Hyde embodiment.
You not playing with your friends anymore?
Caught between love and hate, passion and indifference. One moment he's infatuated, the next he's spiraling, his world flipping between obsession and apathy. It's messy, it's chaotic, and it's what makes him so compelling.
just me getting my thoughts out there and me like kind of pouring my soul out on the beats. It's like me venting. And that's funny you said that because I've literally said before that my music are like my therapy sessions, but there's no confidentiality. I put it out there for people to receive, reevaluate, and learn, and grab my hand and walk with me through whatever they may be going through, you know?
This album brings 3 guests to the table, and
This is sick. I can't. What does even happen? So you have like 3
a mixed bag. Brent Faiyaz delivers a surprisingly smooth interlude that feels like a detour but a welcome one. Young Thug does what he does best, bring chaotic, zany energy. Then there's Clever, whose feature feels more like a gimmick.
He looks like out of Stranger Things. What is this? What is this piercing? People get piercings there, like by their eye.
Making it painfully clear just how far ahead Juice is from his emo rap peers. He isn't some punk artist cashing in on hip-hop because it's trendy. He's a rapper with deep, diverse influences who could have easily pivoted into a pop punk and left rap behind, but he didn't. Instead, Death Race for Love captures Juice in his rawest form, channeling every influence and emotional struggle into music that's as authentic as it is vulnerable. This is Juice at his core, messy, honest, and unmistakably himself.
It's like a basketball player at his court. It's a passion of mine. I love creating. That's the best way I can express myself. I could express myself in songs sometimes more than I could talk, you know? So like, I don't know. It's my version of writing down in a diary, so.
One of the main reasons Juice WRLD resonated so deeply with Gen Z was his raw relatability. He didn't just talk about his feelings, he laid them all out in plain view. While many rappers cautiously revealed their struggles, Juice never hid his. His openness made him a beacon for fans who were fighting their own battles, seeing him as someone who truly understood. But nobody could have predicted the heartbreak of December 8th, 2019.
Juice WRLD seemed to be on top of the world. His music career exploding. The video for his hit Lucid Dreams with almost 400 million views on YouTube. This morning, so many questions as to how a seemingly healthy 21-year-old could die so unexpectedly.
Juice's private jet from Los Angeles to Chicago landed into a storm of federal agents, tipped off about guns and drugs on board. The search uncovered 70 pounds of marijuana, and witnesses later revealed Juice...
How do you even fit that in a plane? 70 pounds of... Mary?
...had swallowed multiple Percocets as the police inspected the plane.
Everybody thinks, you know, there was this, I don't know, it was on TMZ or whatever, that like, oh, Juice knew the cops were coming, so took a handful of pills, and like, that's not what happened. I'm like, Juice did drugs, yes, you know what I mean, but he didn't try to hide them, or he literally, like, someone else held the duffel bag and had all the, like, there'd be no possible way for anybody to eat that amount of pills and think it's gonna be okay. And like, he wasn't, Juice didn't want to die, he wasn't gonna kill himself, he knew he wasn't gonna get in trouble, he had people around him that were gonna take care of, you know what I mean, like, so like, we were even sitting there in the lobby, and his manager G Money walks up to him. They're both just like, "We're all good." You're like, "Yeah." Or they like high five each other, like, "Don't worry, we're all good. Everything's gonna be cool." And then it was like, within a minute or two, he just started having a seizure right there in the lobby, like as they were like searching the bags and stuff like that. And then, that's when like all the chaos broke loose. He started. He made this weird noise. It was like something I've never heard.
What followed was devastating. Juice began seizing and convulsing.
I've seen people have seizures before.
Emergency responders tried to save him with naloxone, but by the time he reached Advocate Christ Medical Center, it was too late, and he was only 21.
And when I looked at him in the eyes, it's like you could see that he wasn't there. But it seemed like forever before the ambulance came, and then I think the lady got the Narcan. They gave him Narcan. They finally got him in the ambulance or in the stretcher, and they took him in the ambulance or whatever, and then they're like, whose bag is this? You know, like, that one was mine, and I was getting arrested. But they were like, he's gonna be okay. He's gonna be okay. I mean, I saw him and he didn't look okay, but they were like, he's gonna be okay. And then, I mean, I didn't find out he was gone until I was in jail. Like, I was just in the holding cell. And then I was like, just, handcuffed to the fucking wall.
Why would he be in jail? Why would it? Would someone go to jail if they were with someone else who had illegal stuff on a plane? I said, would somebody go to jail if they were like with somebody who had illegal stuff on a plane? That's what I'm saying. I don't know. It's just like they found like illegal. So you're right.
Like, you even have a second monitor. You don't even have it on your actual screen.
Short answer is no. My only guess it was a private jet.
And just
and
two
they
detectives just walked in,
him like with it.
Literally verbatim, they're like, we don't give a shit about anything else. We just want to know about the kid that died. And I was like, what? I'm like, who died?
He was just 21 years old. Police say he suffered some sort of medical
So
emergency
they just
this
sent him
morning
to
at Chicago.
They sent him to jail and just didn't tell him that his friend died. And then told him in jail. All right.
Midway Airport. They haven't said yet exactly what caused his death. Higgins was named the top new artist at the 2019 Billboard Music.
Weeks later, his cause of death was confirmed, an overdose of oxycodone and codeine. His funeral took place on December 13th, 2019, at the Holy Temple Cathedral Church of God in Christ in Harvey, Illinois. Family, friends, and collaborators gathered to say their final goodbyes to this fragile artist. The flood of posthumous releases from Juice WRLD's management is polarizing. To some, it's a celebration of his creativity. To others, it reeks of exploitation, a predatory move to profit from a legacy that should have been left untouched.
I didn't hear all those songs. I started hearing them after he passed. I'm like, dang, he was talking about, you know what I'm saying? I didn't know he was saying all that shit, man. Like, did you hear that shit?
Yeah.
He was saying, like, basically, like he wanted to, like he wanted to die or some shit, like. And that shit hit me, like, bro, I cried though, like listening to some of that shit.
Yeah. Out of respect, I'll steer clear of reviewing his posthumous work. That said, Fighting Demons is an exception worth noting. Curated by Juice's estate and closest friends, it feels like a cry for change. The interludes featuring Eminem and Juice himself and the carefully chosen tracks send a vital message. Don't idolize our mistakes, but please learn from them.
So how do you not deal with it the same way? How do you not end up like X? How do you not end up like Peep? How do you, like...
You learn from people's mistakes. You learn from people's downfalls. That's the only reason why I used to like history. Like the class history, like, social studies and all that, because you talking about empires falling and people getting slaughtered and people taking over other people's land, and you learn from other people's mistakes. You see what people was lacking at, people was slipping at. You learn from their mistakes. So I think that's another reason why I know what I know now, is because that's
man, that goes for your family, your friends, celebrities that you like, icons, whatever. You gotta learn from their mistakes, especially if it is your family. If you have a family who has like a pattern of making mistakes and has a pattern with substances or anything else like that, you gotta be the one to break the cycle. Because if not, it'll be psychologically harder for your kids and stuff. And it's unfair to you. It's you just gotta learn from your mistakes and everyone else's mistakes.
That's how I always looked at life. Learning from my own mistakes, learning from other people's mistakes. You can save a lot of pain and struggle by learning from other people's shit.
Yeah.
But sometimes
100%.
you have to learn, from your own mistakes type shit.
It's not just an album. It's a call to action for fans to confront their struggles and find the courage to seek help. A message Juice WRLD tragically didn't get to fully live out himself.
I think the main advice I give myself is just to not give up and keep striving and stay sober.
R.I.P. That was a good video. Dope video. W video. Adjustment Day. Subscribe to him. I'll link this thing in the description. Next video. Every NBA player's most shameful scandals playing in 29 minutes. 29 minutes. I'm gonna go under the assumption, the expectation, the assumption that they're actually not doing every NBA player. Probably just the stars.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
His gambling habits weren't
overrated. LeBron's the GOAT. Are you with me? LeBron is the GOAT. And overrated. It's not that he's overrated. Him and LeBron are the two GOATs. I think LeBron's better. Jordashians think he's untouchable and that LeBron's laughably worse. That's my issue. I still love him as a player, though.
exactly a secret, but things got real messy when those private bets started showing up in courtrooms and investigations. Back in the early 90s, the spot...
Is this a real photo? This looks like a thumbnail. This looks it looks edited into a thumbnail. So if that's a real photo, that looks...
Spotlight hit hard after a check worth $57,000 turned up in a convicted drug dealer's account. Jordan first called it a loan, but later told the court it was for golf and poker losses, not...
That's your guys' GOAT? 57 and they... Let me see that. What is 57K in the 90s equal to right now? Let's see how much your GOAT was gambling on sports. Against the, not illegally, but against the law of the, against the league rules. So your GOAT was gambling around $150,000 if it was today. Around $150K on sports, on golf.
Great. That same year, 3 checks totaling $108,000 were found in a murdered bail bondsman's briefcase. Yep, also for gambling debts. Then a businessman named Richard Esquinas dropped a book claiming Jordan owed him over $1 million from a wild golf trip.
So why didn't he pay up? He has the money. They were paying him stupid money. Even in the 90s, when the numbers may seem smaller now because of inflation and stuff, they were paying him stupid money. That's his fault. Why was he not paying him up?
But he laughed off the number. They settled on $300,000, paid in chunks. Meanwhile, Jordan...
$300,000 paid in chunks from somebody who just paid, if he was at least smart with his money and not gambling, millions of dollars a year, or what the equivalent of $1 million a year would be. Couldn't pay the dude back. Handled him down to $300,000 in payments.
How much do you think getting spotted at casinos during playoff runs and betting on...
This is your guys' GOAT? He was doing gambling during playoff runs? Oh, he's 6 rings. 6-0.
Just about anything.
Yeah, because he freaking had best rebounder ever. He had Steve Kerr, Scottie Pippen. He statistically couldn't win without Scottie Pippen. Statistically couldn't. Easier comp for the most part. And making it. Every team he brought to the finals was a good team. Sid Sano. That's a very, yes, I won't take that away from him. Sid Sano is very impressive, but he had good teams every time. LeBron's been to what, 10 plus? And he's brought teams like the 07 Cavaliers to the finals, which is something Jordan could not do. Yeah. And also 2015, Kevin Love, Kyrie get injured. 2018, he had nobody.
To cartoon races on the arena screen. All of it was technically legal, but it created enough heat that the NBA launched 2 investigations. Both cleared him of breaking rules. Still, those headlines didn't help his image, and when he retired in 1993, people were quick to jump on conspiracy theories. No evidence ever backed, just a lot of smoke, no fire. LeBron James. The China
Go. Run that back.
Theory. No evidence ever backed, just a lot of smoke. No
Run that
fire.
back.
LeBron James.
My glorious king. The greatest man to ever grace the court. The greatest person to ever touch a basketball. This man is the GOAT. Nobody's been this great for this long. Get him out of my face. Get Jordan out of my face. My sunshine, LeBron, his milestones will never be touched unless we find someone else. I mean, maybe Bronny.
James. The China controversy kicked off in October 2019 after a tweet from Daryl Morey stirred international attention. Morey, then with the Rockets, tweeted support for Hong Kong protesters, and China did not take it lightly. They cut ties with the Rockets, shut off broadcasts, and yanked sponsorships, costing the league hundreds of millions.
How much NBA viewership comes from China? I don't think they were shook by that.
Calm the waters with a statement about free speech that managed to upset both sides. When LeBron finally spoke up, it didn't help. He said Morey wasn't.
This looks AI. Why do all these photos look AI? Am I tripping, chat?
Educated on the issue and warned about the tweet's consequences. He wasn't questioning.
I don't have
free speech, he claimed, but rather the timing. He said players in China could have been harmed physically and financially. That message landed like a brick. Protesters in Hong Kong burned his jerseys. And back in the
Wait, so he said that it might damage their money stuff because they couldn't come to the NBA or something? Also, why are you burning jerseys? It doesn't damage him whatsoever.
People called him a sellout. Politicians jumped in, accusing him of protecting business interests. In 2022, a report said LeBron had been furious about the tweet while in China.
You like that, Enzo? I see you barking, boy.
My gosh, do this, bro.
I got you 3 in a row.
Bro, it's not LeBron, bro. It's not Curry.
Yes, sir. I see you.
While most drivers spend their lives going from point A to B, at BMW, we're all...
Partly because it might have threatened his movie. Then in 2023, Enes Kanter Freedom blasted him for ignoring human rights. There were even unverified rumors in 2025 about cheating and strange ties to Diddy's parties. No solid proof, just noise. Through all this, LeBron never supported China's policies, but his words painted a picture that a lot of people were not happy with. Steph Curry. In early 2023, he and his wife Aisha stirred up a storm by trying to block a housing development next to their $31 million mansion in Atherton, California. The proposed project would have added 16 townhouses.
Is that an issue? If you're rich and you don't want people to buy your house, why can't you just pay it off? What's the issue with that?
On a nearby lot, including 4 moderate income units. That's moderate, not low income, despite what headline
middle income houses, but I don't know how to feel about that.
Said Atherton had to approve projects like this to meet California's housing mandate, but not everyone in town was thrilled. The Currys sent a letter to the city council asking them to exclude the site. They said they supported the housing initiative, but didn't want it literally in their backyard. Their main concern, privacy and safety. They weren't.
If it was literally going to be in their backyard. He has 3 kids. He's famous. He doesn't want people at his house.
Thrilled about people being able to look straight into their backyard from 40-foot tall buildings.
Right.
They even asked for taller fences if the project went through. They weren't alone. Other residents, including billionaires, voiced opposition over things like traffic and zoning. Despite that, the council approved the plan, though they left room to possibly scale it down. Nothing's been built yet, and the final outcomes still pending. Meanwhile, people went wild online. Critics called it hypocrisy, especially since Curry's known for backing social justice causes. Others defended him, saying privacy matters, especially for a celebrity with young kids. It didn't touch his career. He kept racking up awards and political endorsements. The town kept debating zoning laws, and the internet kept arguing about whether fences or values mattered more. Chris Paul. This one's wild. Back in January of 2018, things got real tense after a heated game between the Rockets and Clippers. The Clippers won, sure, but that was just the opening act. Chris Paul had only just left the Clippers for the Rockets, and let's just say he didn't exactly get a cake and goodbye hugs on the way out. Tensions were already hot between Paul, Blake Griffin, and Austin Rivers, and after all the chirping and ejections during the game,
Detroit wasted so much for him. My Pistons were in shambles for like freaking half my life because of this Blake Griffin trade that literally got us nowhere. What do we? What was the trade? It was some insane trade. They sent Avery Bradley, Tobias Harris, Boban Marjanovic, and freaking draft picks. Why? He was a good three-point shooter. Tobias Harris, he plays there now, and he's good. And Marjanovic was a very tall and solid center. And draft picks. And then we traded them like 3 or 4. That trade was so stupid.
Boiled over. After the final buzzer, Trevor Ariza, James Harden, Gerald Green, and Chris Paul decided they...
How do these two still not have a ring? Harden has played with Kyrie, Westbrook, Durant, Chris Paul. Isn't he with Kawhi and Paul George now, or at least Kawhi? How has he not won? And then CP3's been with Devin Booker, KD. He's in San Antonio now with Wemby. He was with Harden and Tucker.
Weren't done. They actually tried to confront Griffin and Rivers in the Clippers locker room. Paul used his old knowledge of the arena's layout to guide the group through a back hallway. Ariza led the charge, while Paul was described...
Why were they going through the back of the hall?
...as just lingering. Yeah, real stealthy. Security and staff shut it down before it got physical. But the drama was enough to get the LAPD involved. Clint Capella, meanwhile, was knocking on the front door like this was some sort of...
This man is always in trade finders in freaking 2K. Whenever I've done trade finders since like 2016, Clint Capella is always
coordinated ambush. The league stepped in fast. Ariza and Green got hit with suspensions. Paul and Harden, the NBA labeled them peacemakers, so they walked away clean. It was...
Totally. I wish there was no bias there.
It was messy, petty, and for a minute, it had the league buzzing. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm gonna start posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Kobe Bryant. In 2003, Kobe's name dominated headlines for all the wrong reasons. While staying at a Colorado resort ahead of knee surgery, he invited a 19-year-old hotel employee to his room. What followed led to one of the most publicized allegations in NBA history. The woman accused him of rape, claiming things started consensual but turned violent. She described being choked and assaulted, saying Kobe ignored her saying no multiple times.
How have I never heard this?
Backed parts of her story. Bruises, lacerations, and his semen were found, along with her blood on his shirt. Kobe initially denied any sexual contact. When evidence surfaced, he admitted to cheating on his wife but insisted the act was consensual. He was arrested, posted bond.
How have I never heard about this?
While juggling court appearances. The criminal case was dismissed when the accuser chose not to testify, citing threats and relentless media scrutiny. Later, a civil suit was filed and settled out of court, with both sides under a non-disclosure agreement. Bryant issued a public apology, acknowledging the accuser didn't view the encounter the way he did. The apology wasn't a confession, but it sparked debate. The case haunted his image for years, even as he rebuilt his brand and won more titles. After his death in 2020, tributes largely skipped over the
5
case,
years ago?
fueling renewed controversy over how legacies are shaped. Chris Webber, the Ed Martin scandal followed Webber like a shadow from high school all the way into his NBA prime. At the heart of it was cash.
That's a sick Kings jersey. Why did they take that away?
Lots of it, allegedly flowing from Martin, a former auto worker running an illegal gambling ring, straight to Weber and a few other Michigan stars. Martin claimed he gave Weber nearly $200,000 to $80,000, starting back in 8th grade. Weber denied it, even under oath. That's when things unraveled. In 2002, Martin pleaded guilty to laundering over $600,000. He told the feds he handed Weber cash, paid rent, and even covered expenses for jewelry and clothes. Weber had told a grand jury he didn't remember receiving anything like that. The feds didn't buy it. They indicted him, his dad, and his aunt. Eventually, just before trial, Weber admitted he lied. He pleaded guilty to criminal contempt and confessed he repaid Martin.
Bro, they had that man. Everybody was wanting that. 1, 2, 3, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They had at least 10 mics.
$38,000 after turning pro. He avoided jail, but had to do community service, pay $100,000, and.
Bro, if that was not an NBA player, they're not getting freaking 100. They're not getting just community service and a fine if they freaking lied under oath. Multiple times.
Carried a misdemeanor record. The fallout for Michigan was brutal. They vacated wins, pulled down banners, and cut ties with Weber for 10 years.
You can do that? Vacate wins?
The Fab Five legacy? Tarnished. Teammates like Jalen Rose felt betrayed. Weber kept quiet, rarely addressing it until years later, when Michigan's athletic director apologized for how it all went down. Still, the scandal stuck, even after his Hall of Fame nod. Magic Johnson. In November of 1991, Magic stunned the world when he stood at a podium and announced he had tested positive for HIV. At the time, he was one of the most beloved players in basketball. 5 championships, 3 MVPs, and the heart of the Lakers Showtime era. What made the moment bigger was the weight of the era. HIV was still seen as a death sentence and largely misunderstood. Magic changed that overnight. He discovered his status after a routine physical for life insurance. The team doctor called with the news. He told his wife, Cookie, who was pregnant. Both she and their son tested negative. A few weeks later, he retired, announcing he would become an advocate and prove HIV wasn't the end. And that's exactly what he did. Magic didn't fade away. He played in
that must have sucked living during the HIV and AIDS pandemic. Just so many celebrities died of it. Eazy-E died of it. And I know other people did too, but he's the first one who comes to mind. And he survived it though. Magic's
the
still
1992
alive.
All-Star game, took home MVP, then suited up for the Dream Team in Barcelona, winning gold. He attempted a comeback later that year, but pressure from players forced him back out temporarily. In 1996, he returned for 32 games, showing the league he could still play and live with the virus. His foundation launched outreach and education efforts, pushing testing and reducing stigma. Through advocacy and example, he shifted the conversation. He's lived healthily for decades on treatment with an undetectable viral load. His announcement wasn't just news, it was a turning point for public health and sports. Larry Bird. When he took over as the Pacers president in August of 2003, he wasted no time cutting ties with Isaiah Thomas.
Larry Bird was
just
so
like
cold.
That, Bird fired Thomas and brought in Rick Carlisle, someone he trusted more. Thomas had gone 3 straight seasons without making it out of the first round, despite a roster.
I mean, but he still made it there. I would have given it a few more years. Unless this other coach guy was like a highly regarded guy. I would have given it a few more years. Isaiah Thomas was cold. So was Larry Bird. Oh, by the way, all you Jordashians, even Isaiah Thomas says he's the GOAT. Larry Bird says LeBron is insane. Scottie Pippen says LeBron is the GOAT.
Bird didn't think things were trending up. The team had collapsed in the second half of the previous season, and Bird said he didn't see any urgency to fix it. Bird wasn't vague. He said it wasn't about Thomas's play calling, but about a gut feeling. He called out the lack of communication, saying he barely even spoke with Thomas during the offseason. And while Jermaine O'Neal reportedly wanted Thomas to stay, Bird felt the support from the rest of the locker room just wasn't strong enough. Thomas didn't exactly go quietly. He later said Bird made a mistake, claimed they could have been dynamic, and even suggested he could have prevented the infamous brawl in Detroit.
I thought that was been coach.
He also shared that Bird told him, "You haven't done anything wrong. I just like Rick better." Cold. Carlisle did lead the Pacers to 6.
I just like Rick better. Bro. Now I'm curious, did they do better with Rick? Or
61 wins the next year, so Bird's move looked pretty solid at first, but the drama stuck around. Thomas' comments kept the tension alive, and fans debated it for years. A rivalry from the 80s spilled right into the front office. Draymond Green. Things blew up in October 2022 when Green punched teammate.
There should be a video just about Draymond Green. Top 5, top 29 Draymond Green controversies. I love the dude, but man, he's always causing something. Like podcast on the court.
Jordan Poole during practice. It wasn't just any scuffle. This one got caught on video and leaked online, making a private team moment into a full-blown media circus. The punch didn't just knock Poole back, it rattled the Warriors' whole locker room. At the time, Green was a 32-year-old veteran with 4 championship rings and a rep for being fiery. Poole was just 23, on the rise, and fresh off, helping the team.
Feel bad for this dude. He was so mad. I would be mad too if I got traded to the Wizards, bro. They're okay now, but no, not even. Well, they were a bottom 4 team last year. Give Poole some help.
Win a title.
Give that brother some help.
Represent the Warriors' past and future, but instead, their clash turned into a chemistry killer. Rumors swirled that money talks triggered it. Poole had just inked a massive 4-year extension, while Green was still waiting. Green denied that had anything to do with it, but the timing didn't help. Green stepped away after the punch and apologized, calling it one of his biggest failures. He wasn't suspended, just fined, which made fans and analysts furious. The damage lingered. Green admitted it messed up their vibe all season. They lost in the playoffs, and Poole got traded to Washington. The punch wasn't just one moment. It became a turning point that derailed the dynasty and exposed
so to the John Wall. I liked John Wall growing up for some reason.
In their whole 2-timeline plan. Penny Hardaway. Things got messy fast when the NCAA caught wind of an $11,500 payment he gave to James Wiseman's family in 2017. At the time, Hardaway was coaching high school ball and not yet Memphis head coach. But because he donated $1 million to the school in 2008, the NCAA considered him a booster. When Wiseman committed to Memphis in 2018, all eyes locked in. Then Memphis made it worse by playing Wiseman even after the NCAA flagged the payment. They took it to court and let him play 3 games. That stunt turned a violation into a firestorm. Wiseman left in December. The NCAA launched a deep dive and things spiraled. By 2022, Memphis got slapped with
Wiseman played for the Warriors, didn't he?
And a budget cut. Hardaway got off clean, but the stain stuck. Then came more violations. In 2023, he was suspended
was just him playing somebody when
recruiting
they had
he wasn't supposed to make. And in 2024, a mystery letter accused him of even more payments and academic fraud, including payments tied to recruits and a shady advisor allegedly doing homework for players. Hardaway fired a bunch of staff after that, swore he just wanted to win, and kept coaching. Memphis keeps saying they're fixing it. Meanwhile,
how is Memphis doing now? Are they
but the off-court chaos is doing most of the talk. Karl Malone. Back in 1983, he was a 20-year-old college player at Louisiana Tech when he impregnated Gloria Bell, a 13-year-old girl from his hometown.
Excuse me? A 13-year-old? We still regard him as one of the best?
The age of consent.
We're not even sure. We still talk about him? I feel like that should be like the Chris Benoit thing, where Chris Benoit, we just don't talk about him in the WWE.
In Louisiana was 17, so legally, this was statutory rape. Bell gave birth to a son in 1984, Demetrius Bell, while Malone continued rising in basketball without any criminal charges. Bell's family didn't press charges.
No, why? Was this a normal thing back then?
They reportedly felt Malone could support the child better if he wasn't in prison. In 1986, a paternity suit proved Malone was the father. He was ordered to pay $100 to $25 a week, but tried to argue that amount was too high. They reached
$125 a week is too much when you're a freaking, not millionaire back then, but you're freaking rich and you impregnated a 13-year-old. You impregnated a 13-year-old, sir. How have I never heard about this? Why do we still talk about him?
Confidential settlement later, but Malone didn't acknowledge his son and gave no support beyond what the court.
So he's a deadbeat too. How are you going to be a PDF and a deadbeat? You'd be lucky they didn't press charges at least give the money. And on top of that, if you want to be an even better father, at least be in their life.
Forced. When Demetrius reached out at 17, Malone told him it was too late. The relationship started to thaw in 2014. By 2018, they were on good terms and Demetrius even appeared in family posts. But the damage had already been done. The story resurfaced during The Last Dance and again during the 2023 NBA All-Star Weekend when Malone appeared as a contest judge. The backlash was huge, especially online. Malone's been honored repeatedly, from a statue in Utah to awards
So do we
in his
just
name. But for a lot of people,
I don't want to. Well, no, whatever. So we're just not. Does the NBA just not care about this story? To the point where they'll still like just do a bunch of stuff with him?
no amount of basketball legacy can erase what happened in Summerfield. He's rarely addressed it, and when he has, it's been deflection, not accountability. Kevin Garnett. The controversy hit on November 2nd, 2010, when Pistons forward Charlie Villanueva tweeted that Garnett called him a cancer patient during their game.
Wow! Mr. Garnett.
When Pistons forward
Did we have to do all of that,
Villanueva
sir?
tweeted that Garnett called
KG told me a cancer patient. Because, you know, how many people. Wow. That is true. He's just bald.
Called him a cancer patient during their game. Villanueva, who has alopecia universalis, a condition causing
He has
total
alopecia. Oh, that's why he has no eyebrows.
hair loss, didn't take it as just trash talk. He called it disrespectful, especially given how many people suffer from cancer. And yeah, the tweet dropped after midnight, which only made it go more viral. Garnett denied the claim. He said he told Villanueva, "You are cancerous to your team and our league." Not much better, honestly. He said he'd never joke about cancer because he had loved ones affected by it. His coach, Doc Rivers, backed him up, saying he heard it firsthand, and it matched Garnett's version. Celtics president Danny Ainge took a swing at Villanueva instead.
Okay, but are they just saying that because that's their boy? Just a question.
Him of using Twitter for attention. That's where this whole thing really blew up. Social media added gasoline to the spark. The NBA didn't fine anyone. No suspensions, no real punishment. Just 2 technical fouls during the game. That's it. Garnett never really clarified much beyond that first statement. He even called Villanueva a nobody a few days later. Meanwhile, Villanueva kept advocating for people with alopecia and used the spotlight to raise awareness. Fans stayed divided. Some said it was just trash talk, others thought Garnett crossed a line. And with no audio proof, it all ended as one ugly, unresolved moment that still linked to Garnett's reputation. Rick Barry. He's known for his Hall of Fame game and that granny style.
What is this unked haircut? They used to be doing this back then. What is that for?
Free throw, but his off-court comments have aged like milk. The biggest backlash hit during Game 5 of the 1981 NBA Finals. When he was working as a CBS analyst, Barry looked at a photo of Bill Russell and dropped the line that Russell had a...
Wow. He does not even a grin. Hello?
big watermelon grin. That phrase has deep roots in racist minstrel tropes.
Yeah.
And saying it on live television wasn't exactly subtle. Barry later claimed he didn't know the term's history. Russell accepted the...
He didn't know the term. So, okay, say we do believe him that he didn't know the term's history. Why would you even think to say that?
Apology,
it's a very
but said they weren't friends to begin with. CBS Dashit did not renew Barry's contract the next year, not just because of that one line, but because his overall commentary had become more grating than insightful. Then there's his autobiography, Confessions of a Basketball Gypsy, where Barry decided to share his hot takes about black teammates from his Washington Caps day. He described some as disinterested and quick to blame racism if they weren't playing. He also accused them of calling referees bigots when they got called for fouls. These weren't spicy takes. They were tone-deaf stereotypes that ignored real racial tension.
The hair is insane.
In the league at the time. Put together, these moments painted Barry as someone out of step with the times, and not in a charming, old-school way. His basketball legacy is intact, but his reputation off the court took a clear hit that followed him into retirement. Kevin Durant...
What I found out with the NBA is that a lot of people... a lot of legends, especially after this video, they'll keep them relevant and still talk about them as some of the greatest, but they won't ever have like consequences or even bring up the fact that like, oh, Rick Barry had some racial things that he said. are that Malone PDF'd a 13-year-old. They disregard them as one of the greatest. But you can't just sweep that under the rug. And there's also Josh Giddey, and he had that thing with an underage person. But was that proven wrong? I thought that was proven as like fake. I could be wrong.
This one's funny. In 2017, he made headlines for a social.
Love KD. He's a cool player, and he usually seems like a cool guy. But he's been really egotistical sometimes.
Social media blunder that exposed something a little weirder than your average Twitter beef. On September 17th, he responded to a fan questioning his exit from Oklahoma City.
He didn't like the.
But instead of owning it, he accidentally tweeted in third person saying Durant didn't like the organization or playing for Billy Donovan and couldn't win a championship with those cats. It was obvious he meant to post it from a burner account, but forgot to switch. Once everyone noticed, the meltdown began. Durant owned up to it, called the move idiotic, and apologized for trashing his former coach and teammates. He told G.
Why did he care that much to reply? KD has a burner account?
He was half asleep and felt like he was on the outside looking in, which is a poetic way of saying he got caught doing something ridiculous. Later, he confirmed what everyone suspected. He had burners. By 2019, he admitted using them to talk to friends and speak his mind without scrutiny. Then in 2020, he doubled down on the All the Smoke podcast, saying he still used them and only messed up once. People online had a field day. Memes, jokes.
Kevin Durant, I make millions one of the best athletes in the world. Also, Kevin Durant, That's a very old meme. I should see how that was funny. Alright. Looks like Toronto is trying to wait. Looks like Toronto is trying to even the series against the Bucks. Whatever. Warriors and 4. Wow.
Roast, you name it. The whole thing painted him as thin-skinned, which stuck, even though he kept dominating on the court. His image took a hit, but he never stopped clapping back at fans on social media. If anything, it made him more active. Just hopefully
these jerseys were sick, and so were the land ones at Cleveland.
With fewer identity crises, Scottie Pippen, the guy won 6 championships, guarded the league's best players, and walked into the Hall of Fame. Then managed to absolutely fumble the financial bag. Once he left the hardwood, in the late 90s, he handed over more than $20 million to a financial advisor named Robert Lunn. Lunn came recommended by people in the Bulls' orbit, which clearly didn't include anyone with good judgment. Lunn forged Pippen's signature for a $1.4 million.
He forged did he at least get his money back?
Loan, blew the money, and ended up convicted of bank fraud in 2014. He got 3 years in prison and had to cough up $400,000 in restitution. Then came the...
Wait, did they say it was $1 million that he signed? Because why do you only have to pay $300,000 back?
Yeah. In 2002, Pippen bought a Gulfstream, 2 for $4.3 million, but forgot to check if it could actually fly. Spoiler, it could not. The repairs alone cost another $1 million. He eventually sued and won $2 million back, which was probably the most successful part of the whole disaster. Pippen also took a $1 million hit on a Portland mansion he sold in
Maybe he should just be smarter with money.
2007.
Where's the controversy at?
Into a South Side Chicago real estate project that flopped harder than a half-court heat. He even sued his law firm, claiming they didn't vet Lunn and had a conflict of interest. Total losses around $27 million. He made roughly $110 million in the league. Today, he's reportedly worth about $20 million. So yeah, he still eats, but it's not exactly filet mignon every night. Kawhi Leonard. Back in 2019, his free agency was supposed to be all about where he...
Kawhi's tough. Hopefully they don't say anything crazy. But he
land next, but instead, most of the spotlight shifted to his uncle, Dennis Robertson, better known as Uncle Dennis. Now, this wasn't your average uncle who brings dessert to family dinners kind of situation. This guy came in with demands that made NBA teams pause mid-phone call. Uncle Dennis reportedly asked for some wild perks while negotiating with teams, and we're not talking bonus incentives.
Why was he? Was he his manager or whatever at the time?
He allegedly wanted part ownership of the team, a house, access to a private...
Part ownership of a team? So what if he leaves again?
Private plane at all times, and guaranteed endorsement money. It wasn't just about Kawhi getting paid. It was like Dennis was putting together his own billionaire starter pack. These demands were brought to teams like the Lakers, Raptors, and Clippers.
We could have seen Kawhi and the Lakers come to LA now.
Bus from the Lakers was reportedly hit with multiple phone calls and made it very clear that what he was asking for was straight up against the rules. The Raptors kept it quieter, but reports say they heard the same wish list. The NBA wasn't about to let this slide, so they launched an investigation, especially into the Clippers. After looking into everything, they didn't find any violations, and
I don't know how to feel about this new logo. It's pretty mid.
No team was punished.
They need
Kawhi
a better
claimed he had
logo.
no idea about what his uncle was doing. Still, it's hard to ignore how loud Uncle Dennis's presence was. In the end, Kawhi signed a 3-year deal with the Clippers, worth $103 million. The drama didn't land anyone in trouble, but
did
it
he choose
definitely made
Clippers
headlines.
out of everywhere?
James Harden. Everyone knows the guy can light up a scoreboard, but off the court, his nightlife habits have gotten almost as much attention as his step-back jumper. Back in December of 2020, a video popped up showing Harden at a maskless indoor party in Houston. This wasn't just bad timing, it was a direct violation of the NBA's COVID protocols. The league dropped a $50,000 fine on him, and the Rockets had to postpone their season opener because they didn't even have 8 available players. Contact tracing took out a chunk of the roster. All thanks to that one night out. Harden pushed back on the narrative,
surprised they
saying
didn't
it
make him
wasn't a strip
forfeit.
club and was actually a private party for a friend's business event. He also claimed he thought he was following health guidelines, but by that point, the damage was already done. Then there's the now infamous Reddit study.
Reddit study. I analyzed James Harden's performance and I analyzed James Harden's performance in every NBA study to see if there's a correlation between his box score and the city's average.
User decided to connect the dots.
All right.
Turn your pastime
Reddit is
into your full-time.
something.
Between Harden's game stats and local strip club ratings in different NBA cities, and the results were something. The data showed a noticeable drop in Harden's performance in cities with highly rated strip clubs. Places like Miami, rough games, but in cities with lower ratings, like Toronto, he played better. Whether you believe
That's
in the
insane.
study or not, Harden's nightlife has definitely
random
stirred
thing
up
to study.
more than a few headlines. On-court brilliance, no doubt, but off-court choices, he's probably with Lil Baby, Kyrie. In late 2022, Kyrie landed in the middle
I'm
of
assuming this is the controversy where he freaking never showed up. I love Kyrie. I love the 2016 Cavs. He helped tremendously. Didn't he fake injuries? Didn't show up to practice and didn't even show up to games. And isn't this also when they had Ben Simmons faking his injury?
of a firestorm after posting a link to a film called Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America. The film was packed with anti-Semitic content, including Holocaust denial and bizarre conspiracy theories involving a
Never mind. Never mind.
supposed global Jewish agenda. It wasn't just a bad look. It sparked immediate outrage. The Brooklyn Nets responded fast. They suspended Kyrie for at least 5 games without pay, saying he wasn't fit to be associated with the team until he clearly stated he had no anti-Semitic beliefs. The suspension wasn't just about the post. It was also about how he handled the backlash. At first, Kyrie didn't apologize at all, which
Wow.
only cranked up the criticism. When he finally did say something, it came through an Instagram post where he admitted the film had anti-Semitic content and said he regretted the hurt it caused. Nike wasn't quiet either. They cut ties with him, shelving the release of
Is this why he changed his shoe brand to like whatever else? I liked his Nikes.
his Kyrie 8 signature shoe. The company made it clear they weren't going to be associated with hate speech of any kind. To return to play, Kyrie had to meet a set of conditions, including sitting down with Jewish leaders and issuing public apologies. After checking those boxes, he came back to the court on November 20th. The whole saga
Bro
wasn't
got
just a
himself a
personal
bunch of
mess.
side
It
quests.
turned into a full-blown lesson on the weight of a platform in the fallout when it's misused. Tim Hardaway Sr. On November 14th, 2022, during a Golden State Warriors broadcast, Hardaway stirred up serious backlash after making a shocking comment about a defensive play. While watching Draymond Green in action, he said, "So y'all thought that was great, D? I thought that was just raping him."
What they did? What do people be saying? Lord, who is this chuckling over there, dude? Great defensive player.
I think you should call the police on that. Yes, he
Great
really said
defensive
that.
player.
Live on air
Crazy statement.
during a special run TMC broadcast with Chris Mullen
why
and
did
Mitch
you're
Richmond.
not
The
mobbing,
reaction
dude.
was instant. Viewers were quick to call out the comment for being incredibly inappropriate, and it didn't take long for Hardaway to try to walk it back.
Did we
Before
already
the
have a
fourth quarter
Hardaway
even
one?
started,
Or is it
he
the
gave
first or
a
second
quick
Hardaway one?
apology on air, admitting it was a poor choice of words and trying to shift the energy back to the game. But the damage was already done. This wasn't his first time at the center of controversy. Back in 2007, he made openly homophobic remarks in a radio interview saying he hated gay people. That statement also caused a major
He hated them? Bro, this is what... You can't be saying that, bro.
uproar.
Whether you agree
He
with it
later
or not, you can't be
apologized,
saying that, man.
blamed his upbringing, and has since made efforts to show support
Blamed
for
his upbringing.
LGBTQ community,
He looks like he's an
even
unk.
participating in outreach. But when something like this happens again, years later, it brings old issues right back to the surface. For someone with a microphone in front of them, especially during a live broadcast, it's a brutal reminder that words have weight, no matter how quickly you try to take them back. Miles Bridges. Since 2022, his off-court
More people
record has
glazing
been
him.
anything but quiet. It all started on June 29th when he was arrested in Los Angeles
Surrenders
for
at
allegedly
jail.
assaulting his then-girlfriend, Michelle Johnson, in front of their 2 kids.
Is this after she got... Okay. Is it... I don't... Is this afterwards? I'm trying to figure out what he did. Bruises, maybe? I thought it's like...
Johnson later posted disturbing photos of her injury.
Oh, okay. That was her after. What is... Okay, what are we looking at here? I can't figure out what's going on here. Cuts, maybe? This is her hair, I think. That's just her hair, isn't it? And then this is not okay. Is that burns? Is that burns?
Concussion, broken nose, bruises, and more. He was released on a $130,000 bond by July 9th.
But the thing is, would he be released on that if he didn't play in the NBA?
19th, things escalated. Bridges was charged with 1 felony count of injuring a child's parent and 2 counts of child abuse under
Why is he still playing? Is that a wrong question?
Circumstances likely to cause serious harm. He pleaded not guilty the next day. Fast forward to November 3rd. He agreed to a no contest plea for the felony. The sentence, 3 years of probation with 52 weeks of domestic violence counseling and parenting classes, 100 hours of community service, weekly drug tests, and a 10-year protective order.
So he's still on that
Johnson. Oh, and $800 in fine.
He's still on that? So did she only get $800 then? How much did that person get paid?
The NBA stepped in by April 14th, suspending him for 30 games. But since he didn't play in 2023, 20 games were counted as served. He still had to miss the first 10 games of the next season. Then in October, things got worse again. He allegedly broke the protective order by throwing billiard balls at Johnson's car with the kids inside. His girlfriend...
So is this dude just a crash out? How do you even think of this? And then just started chucking him at cars?
Allegedly kicked the car too. He turned himself in, posted a $1,000 bond, and waited. By February, charges were dropped due to inconsistent statements. Ja Morant, the Memphis Grizzlies star guard,
great player,
hasn't just made headlines for his game. He's drawn serious heat for multiple firearm-related incidents on social media. It all kicked off on March 4th, 2023, when he flashed a gun on Instagram Live.
But is that okay? Is that an issue because is this illegal? Was he not supposed to be carrying? Was that against guidelines, or were they just mad just because he had it?
While at a nightclub in Denver, right after a game. That got the NBA's attention fast. The Grizzlies benched him for at least 2 games, and Morant entered a counseling program in Florida, supposedly to manage stress. His social media accounts went dark during that stretch. Then on March 15th, the NBA suspended him for 8 games without pay, counting 6 he'd already missed. 2 months later, the sequel dropped. On May 14th, another video hit Instagram Live, this time streamed by his friend, Devontae Pack, showing Morant holding a gun again, this time inside a vehicle.
Okay, so is it fine now if it was concealed carry, or are they still going to get mad at him? I don't know what countries like, or not country, what states like, and what
the Grizzlies
NBA. Well, maybe NBA guidelines.
Suspended him from all team activities. And NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said he was shocked. By June 16th, Morant was hit with a 25-game suspension without pay to start the 2024
season. So does he not have a license to carry? Was it an illegal gun, or was it just purely against NBA guidelines?
The NBA stressed that this kind of behavior wasn't just careless, it was dangerous. Then in April 2025, Morant pulled out a finger gun gesture during a game against the Warriors.
Okay, but what's wrong with that is LeBron does LeBron does that.
aiming it
Was
at
it
their
reloading
bench.
the
Given
clip?
his history, the league fined him $75,000. That moment showed he hadn't learned much, and the NBA made sure to call out the pattern. His actions keep dragging him further from the spotlight he once owned.
That's a crazy poster. You know my boy Jaden Ivey?
Joakim Noah. On March 25th, 2017, the NBA hit the Knicks Center with a 20-game suspension without pay for violating the league's anti-drug policy. The reason? He tested positive for LGD 4033, a substance banned under the NBA and Players Union's program. It's a selective androgen receptor modulator, or SARM, known to boost muscle growth, and yes, it's classified as a performance enhancer. At the time, Noah wasn't even active. He'd been out since February 4th with a knee injury and had arthroscopic surgery on February 27th to clean it up. Because of that, the league made it clear the suspension would start only when he was medically cleared to play again. That meant the punishment spilled over into the next season. Neither Noah nor the Players Union tried to appeal it. They called the situation a one-off mistake, and Noah owned it. He said he was trying to take a supplement to help with recovery, and it completely backfired. Looking at the numbers, it's not like he was dominating the court either. That season, he averaged 5 points and just under 9 rebounds over
That's like a bench player.
46 games. Injuries and inconsistency
Definitely he was a starter on his
New York.
time, but
It never really clicked. Eventually, the Knicks let him go in October 2018, ending what had become a pretty rocky run. Between the suspension, the surgery, and the stats, it was a tough chapter in a career that once had a whole lot more momentum. Monte Ellis. In December 2011, he found himself at the center of a sexual harassment lawsuit filed by Erica Ross Smith, who worked as the Warriors Community Relations Director. The lawsuit didn't just name Ellis. It pulled in the Warriors organization too. Smith claimed that from November 2010 through January 2011, Ellis sent her numerous unsolicited text messages. These weren't casual workplace chats. They included sexually suggestive lines along with questions about what she was wearing. Then, on December 17th, she said Ellis sent a photo of his genitalia to her
Did they cut him?
Work phone. That allegation alone sent shockwaves.
If this allegation was true, they should have cut him.
Smith also claimed things got worse after she rejected him.
Because he wasn't even a superstar. I think I would remember him. He was like a
According
role
to
player.
her, the Warriors reduced her job duties and ultimately laid her off in August 2011. She alleged the organization knew what was happening and tried to keep it quiet,
they laid her
painting
off
a picture
and
of
not him.
retaliation and a cover-up. The Warriors responded by saying they were aware of a consensual relationship between Ellis and Smith and had told both to end
So, like,
contact.
is this
They
true?
denied doing anything wrong and
I
pushed
don't know.
back on the
I don't know. I
idea
can't- I
of
don't know what's true or what's
retaliation.
not true.
Ellis kept it brief, letting lawyers handle the legal side. By June 2012, all parties reached a settlement, though no details were made public. The lawsuit was dismissed. The case
Dope.
added a dark chapter to
Video.
Ellis's time in the
Not mean to click there, but ball explained. W. Lighten that up. Last video. Strap in. 34 minutes. Reddit, Wendigo, encounters. I don't know like this yet. Actually, no. I'm a pre-fire the like. I'm excited for this. Let's go.
Guys, and welcome back to another Reddit Stories video. In this video, we'll focus on mainly Wendigo stories, so pretty spooky, but I'm excited to get into
Wendigos
it.
are so cool.
sit back,
If you're
relax,
interested.
and if you're new here, subscribe. It's the channel's goal to be at 250,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I think we can do it, so please subscribe. And alright, anyways, let's get into the first story. Wendigo encounter. I've been
Wow,
debating
what a
on sharing this
creative
story
name.
with anyone outside of my small circle of people that were there, but I want to share my experience in hopes that it saves someone's life or to give understanding of what someone else has experienced. This was late fall of 2010. In northern Canada, I went deep into the wilderness with my father and my eldest brother to hunt for moose. We left in the early
People
morning,
go moose
just
hunting?
before
That's a thing?
sunrise, as trying to cover as much distance as possible before nightfall. We traveled winding rivers and had to repeatedly portage over rapids all day. We decided to set up camp just over halfway to our destination. My father figured that we'd make the rest of our journey tomorrow. Well, when everyone bedded down for the night, I decided to go grab some firewood and relieve myself down by the bank of the river, just out of the reach of the light from the campfire. Out from the tree line about 15 yards away, I could hear rustling in the bushes. I watched the area where I heard the noise and focused on that spot. I kind of felt funny. dizzy or loud.
Yeah, that's what they say. They say that Wendigos leave like a putrid smell. I think it's because what? I don't know. These are just stories, so I don't think she'll get in the lore. But the lore is like they're like a cannibalistic tribe that did stuff and did spells, and they became Wendigos, and that's why they smell like that. Because they smell like rotting flesh.
Lightheaded, and I could smell this putrid stink, like old milk or rotten food. Then I saw the tree started to morph and move ever so slightly, and began to take the shape of a head and slight facial features.
Yeah,
my eyes began to adjust in the darkness and along the tree line. I could hear this voice coming from there. I recognized it. The voice sounded like one of my relatives who had recently passed.
Bro, that's so creepy. Well, they might be even scarier than skinwalkers. They're harder to kill. And I didn't even know they could mimic the voice.
The face took the shape of my relative. "Hello," they said. "I've missed you. Come see me." I smiled and stepped forward a bit, but stopped to analyze the situation. My relative's face stopped smiling and became emotionless. The skin began to turn pale and peel away. Chunks of flesh from their cheeks began to fall away.
That's
and
actually
I felt shock and fear
so
overwhelm
gross.
my body.
That's
I couldn't
so
make sense of it all, so I started to back
creepy.
away and made my way to camp. I didn't realize at the time that I had been walking towards the voice and was further away from the firelight. The voice became angry and began shouting at me to come here. So I turned to run away, but as I looked back one more time, I saw the most disgusting thing I have ever seen. It was rotting flesh on gnawed bone, caved-in eyes, and a hollow chest cavity. This humanoid creature was tall and super thin.
Ew.
I ran as fast as I could, trying to yell for help, but the fear has made my voice quiet and raspy. I ran along the riverbank, and I could hear the heavy breaths and the stomping feet from this thing right behind me. I made it onto the top of the riverbank, but it grabbed a hold of my leg as I jumped. I gripped and it tore the grass trying to lift myself and yelled as loud as I could. Then finally my voice came back, and I yelled that someone has my leg. My brother woke up and ran over to where I was. Then he pulled me up and took me over to the fire. I was terrified, trying to explain what I saw and that it looked like my relative, but not. I was trying to convince them that I wasn't seeing things, but my brother nodded his head and said, "I saw it too. I know."
That's creepy.
That solidified it. He acknowledged that it was real. We stayed up all night after that, rifles loaded and close by. We packed up when the sun was coming up and went back home. We haven't shared that story with anyone out of fear of being labeled as crazy or liars. I've had nightmares and couldn't sleep for months afterwards. I would see things or dark figures looking into my window or hear whispers when I was walking home at night. Eventually, I was seeing this dark figure daily. I went to medicine man or shaman for help, but I've learned that ceremonies only relieves it temporary. Friends have given me everything from protection pouches to certain crystals. I found out that there's a strong possibility that I encountered a Wendigo. I learned that if you encounter one and survive, it attaches itself to you like a parasite. I learned that I could only do this if it touches you, which it did. Ever since that night, I've been on edge when I enter any forest or wooded area, which sucks because I loved being outdoors, hunting, and in nature. Now I always feel like I need to keep my back against something when I'm out in the wild. Anyways, make your own conclusions about this. I've paid a price for being an ignorant child to the stories of old. They are real. I can attest to that. Stay safe, everyone.
Yeah, just if one of them attach themselves to you, they like just follow you. And talking about like demons and stuff, have you freaking seen the Annabelle story where they freaking are taking her on tour and stuff is just happening, like bad stuff is happening wherever she goes, and then they just lost her for a while? Why do we still have that thing?
This story takes place in the backcountry of the area I grew up in. Be warned, some of this may be too frightening for some. Reader discretion is advised. So back in 2019, I remember there being a big uproar of unknown creatures roaming the forest, like Bigfoot and skinwalkers, but this story isn't about them. This story is about probably one of the scariest things I think I've ever heard about: the Wendigo. A few months ago, after one of my friends, Jacob, mentioned the big uproar, I went to go see him since I had been enlisted away in the United States Marines. I got back after being discharged, and one of the first things I did was go up and see him. We're having a good old time, and he brought up the idea of going out to a little hangout spot his new ex-girlfriend took him to when they wanted to get away for a few hours, so I decided, why not? So I grabbed my gun, and we went out to this extremely secluded area and started messing around on the old dock that was there. It had pretty much been forgotten by the looks of it, poorly maintained, and some boards were almost completely rotted through. So about 30 minutes into our
Why would you want to go on an old dock? Wouldn't you just fall through and
shenanigans,
fall into
Jacob brought
water?
up the topic of the Wendigo. The name sounded a little scary even for me. Curious though, I asked him about it. He said that if you went into the woods and said Wendigo 3 times, you would come across
Beetlejuice ritual. I don't think that's how that works. I've never heard about this.
the scariest looking thing you have ever seen. Me calling his bluff, I told him to prove it. To this day, I wish I hadn't. We start walking
Okay,
up
this seems fake, but I've never heard of this. Why would they be like Wendigo, and then they would disappear?
this little path that
Maybe
leads
I'm just
deep into
tripping.
the thick woods close to the Alabama state line. We walked for maybe 20-ish minutes and decided we were in a good spot. I feel it's worth noting that it had been raining a lot over the past few days.
I love the
so
rain, but
ground
it's
was
not like when I'm
completely
working or
saturated with
outside.
water.
I love like
I turned to Jacob and he dares me to do it.
I love like a day at home and with the rain.
I stood there in complete silence. The rest of the forest was almost silent as well, besides the tall pines swaying in the wind high above our heads. Reluctantly, I slowly started to say it. Wendigo.
Bro, I knew it was raps.
Wendigo. Wendigo. Then nothing happened. I let out a silent sigh of relief at the fact that nothing happened. One thing about mine and Jacob's friendship is we loved it when one of us proved the other wrong about something. In our friendship of 10 years, I think it was one of the first times I'd proven him wrong at anything. We started to talk a little bit of shit back and forth at each other when we heard a noise in the distance. Me still having the reflexes I had from the Marines, I immediately snapped towards the direction of the noise that were just then turning into noises. I started to move closer to the noises, and then shortly after, we saw a few coyotes running across the path about 30 feet.
Some people, I worked at a golf course, and some people called us the other day, and there's a coyote in the golf course. My boss sent me with a golf club to defend myself to go find a coyote.
In front of us.
The dude must have been on something, because I drove the entire
breathed
18 holes,
another
and
sigh
there was
of
nothing
relief,
either.
But that relief didn't last long, since I knew something was up. I didn't know what was up at first, but I just knew it was time for me and Jacob to leave. As we turned to leave the woods, all of a sudden, a tall pine tree started to groan and creak as it started to come down. Noticing this, and in a moment of pure instinct, I shoved Jacob forward as the tree came falling through the rest of the branches and landed right in between us.
If my friend shoved me in front of a falling tree, and I survived that, I don't know how you could live with that. That either it would go one or two ways. I'd stop being friends with him, or it'd be like the funniest story for the rest of our life.
Jacob let out a cry of terror as the tree landed, and I hopped the tree to get to him.
It's just Wendigos
I could
and
feel his heart
turn as
pounding like a
Wendigos.
drum as
I
I
mean,
grabbed him by
Wendigos
the
and turn to
shirt
trees.
and yanked him to his feet. He was still terrified and still practically crying as I screamed at the top of my lungs. Move, Jacob. Fucking move now. I spun him around really hard, causing him to fall to his knees. I quickly got him up, and we both started to sprint down the path back in the direction we came. I didn't dare look back, and neither did Jacob. I was sprinting through the woods when a familiar sound came from behind me.
Oh, what's a Wendigo?
Jacob.
Oh.
Jacob, come quick. It was the sound of Jacob's younger sister, Olivia. He turned and tried to get past me. The whole time he was screaming, Olivia. I stopped him and said, Jacob, look at me. It's not her. Do you hear me? It's
Well, yeah, I don't know what would make him think that. Unless she was also on the trip or whatever.
not her. Just then, another pine tree started to buckle. I saw it just in time to tackle Jacob down to the ground as both of us were nearly crushed. I screamed at Jacob once more. Go. Get out of here. Go now. As I was screaming that, I pulled out my gun out of my waistband and aimed it down the trail in the direction.
We just had the gun the whole time. We didn't think to pull it out.
From whence it came. Jacob made it to the opening of the trail and turned back and noticed I was still aiming my gun down the trail. Bradley, get out of here. Come on, hurry. I turned and started sprinting towards him. As I made it into the clearing a good 50 feet, I turned and me and Jacob both saw it. The thing we had ushered into showing itself. The Wendigo. It stood about 9 feet tall on its hind legs. There was practically no meat on its bones. It had
they have
really
like a
skinny
skull
legs
face.
and even skinnier arms. Its skin a pale white, almost like a vampire's, but the thing I noticed the most about it were the eyes, a vibrant blue, almost like a lightsaber blue for those who have seen Star Wars. Having had enough fear, I raised my gun and fired at the Wendigo. Jacob, not sticking around to see if I had killed it, he turned and ran towards the car. I turned and did the same thing as he passed me. That was my first experience with this so-called Wendigo. And I pray, almost every night, I never have to encounter something that terrifying again. I think I had an encounter with a skinwalker or a Wendigo. I'm 25 male. I live in
If you guys are ever bored, just go on Reddit and join that subreddit where they just talk about like Wendigos or skinwalkers or paranormal activity.
Utah,
it's
and
very
I'm
entertaining.
curious if any of you have seen anything like this before. I'm pretty sure I saw a Wendigo or a skinwalker. I know it sounds strange or crazy. I don't really believe in those things, and I'm regularly skeptical when it comes to the paranormal. This happened to me when I was 17 and in high school and living with my parents. My house at the time was in a very small town. The backyard faced open, empty fields and mountains for miles before you reached another civilization at all. My best friend lived next door and shared this field as a backyard in a way. I have to explain that his house was built on a different street that ended in the field with a small cul-de-sac.
It's kind of dope.
I think there was supposed to be more houses built on the street to explain the town, but
One thing I've noticed that freaking kids don't have neighborhood friends anymore. I never had neighborhood friends either. But even now, people don't play outside. People don't have neighborhood friends. It's kind of weird to see.
They clearly
my kid's not having an iPad at 5.
We never got around to it. So his driveway was basically in this cul-de-sac, even though no other houses were built there. This matters later in the story, though. I used to stay the night at my friend's house a lot in high school because I didn't have the best relationship with my parents. Every once in a while, we would wake up to hear dragging and a weird gargling sound from the back porch. His room was a basement room with the window well to his back porch. It would happen maybe a couple times a month, but whenever we would gather the courage to check, nothing would be back there. This happened for years. One night haunts my friend and I to this day. My friend was getting ready to move, and we would stay up all night playing games and watching movies. We decided to go on a music drive to just vibe. So we hopped in his truck with high beams and swung out of the driveway, turning them on towards the field to use the roundabout. The light illuminated this thing. It looked like a person, but it wasn't. It was naked on all fours.
Ew.
Abnormally large, especially its limbs that seemed to fold under itself in an unnatural way. Its pale skin clung to it like it had to be stretched onto it. But the part that still sends shivers down my spine is its face. Its jaw hung open to this gaping black maw, like a snake unhinging its jaw to eat. Its black eyes glistened in the light as it looked at us, but just as it turned to see us, it quickly scurried backwards, almost like it was on rewind into the brush of the field. My friend and I were pale as ghosts. We both looked at each other and were like, "Did you see that too?" We were shaken. Let's just say we tried to have a good rest of the night, but we couldn't believe what we just saw. We ended up just sitting there in his basement with guns ready and waiting to hear the gargling and dragging again, but we never did.
The scariest thing I've seen with my friends probably is there was one time, we are stupid. Me and my friend were walking to the gas station late at night, and so there's my house, liquor store, woods, apartment, and then the gas station. So we walked all the way down to this gas station, got our stuff, whatever. We came back, and in the woods, there was a kid's bicycle knocked over by this dark path out of dark turns. You couldn't see where it was going. That scared us enough. We were like, "What the heck? We're out of here!" Ran, and we thought we were good. But then we were like, "Okay, we're out. We're kind of 50 feet away from there, maybe." But then we looked in the ground, and there was a kid's shoe in the bushes.
Did.
It's very
Sorry
creepy.
that it's not very climatic.
I was
But
terrified.
it's true. I now don't live in that town anymore. There are times when I visit there, though. The empty field still feels like it's watching and waiting. Even though
Well, yeah,
I
they
can
transform
see
as
it,
trees, so if it's a
I can still
tree,
feel
maybe.
like it's out there. Possible Wendigo encounter. Hey everyone, not sure if this is the right place to post this, but I'm definitely spooked. Also my very first Reddit post, so sorry if it's a little jumbled. So today my friend, let's call her Ray, and I were in my car at night. Windows rolled down and screaming our heads off to loud music. We were feeling absolutely...
That's such a... I want a friend that likes the same music I do. Just freaking... When you want windows roll down, Bruno Mars, Kanye, old music. Dude, it'll be such a freaking vibe, dude.
Happy,
Such a vibe.
Laughing and having a great time overall while driving around the rich neighborhoods looking at huge mansions. Now here comes what spooked us majorly. We start getting a little put off because of how dark this road was. Plus, we were going into the middle of a forested area, and everything around us was getting darker and darker. I had to turn on the brights on my car. Now, we still didn't say anything to each other seriously, only joking around, being a little nervous and getting weird vibes. I make this mistake of turning down a forked road.
That's a fact. Whenever me and my friends see anything creepy, we usually just try to play it off as a joke. And then if it is creepy, then maybe we'll say something. But that's the best way to divert yourself. It's just they pretend it's funny.
And
even
immediately
if you're
we
terrified.
feel sick to our stomachs, both at the same time. I just looked at her, and we both started saying about how something is not right. It was such an urgent feeling of terror, dread, knowing something terrible was going to happen if we stopped the car. We felt like we had to roll the windows up because we wanted to be safer. Once we finally sped up and started leaving, I felt an intense feeling of something watching us, and I just could not make myself turn to look to my side into the forest or behind us. The second we got off that road, it felt like a weight came off our shoulders, again at that same time. I've never felt this terrified before, with such a huge pit in my stomach and sense of dread. What was that? Seriously, I have no idea what happened or why we started feeling that way suddenly. I'm so scared, even just thinking about it gives me goosebumps all over. Has anyone else experienced something like this? Or do you know what...
No, I have not. Freaking... Driving at night alone seems like such a vibe, but also so terrifying. Because I'm telling you, I'll be sitting there listening to my Steve Lacy, or some, straight bangers, some late night vibes. But if I see something terrifying, I'm booking it. So you might have Bad Habit playing.
What it might have
while
been.
we have a
edit.
80
Sorry
miles
for
an
my
hour.
lack of education on what Wendigos or other creatures of that sort actually are. I heard from people around me that that's the feeling you get when they are around you. But I might be totally wrong. Something was definitely up though. Whatever it was. How my father survived an encounter with a Wendigo. All know the feeling of hunger, and yet some have never seen it. You yourself may have claimed to be starving, empty, famished, or hungry, but have you ever encountered the merciless beast we call hunger? Have you ever considered that thing you call starving is only the fingernail of the monster that plagues the minds and souls of the innocent and sane, breathing
Dark and mysterious Reddit post. Dude.
down your neck,
This is not
and clawing at
tough.
your skin with blood-covered nails, desperate to get inside. Only blocked from you gobbling down cheeseburgers, pizza, donuts, fruits, and veggies. And yet some have come close to hunger. Some of the worst instances of mass hunger known as famines have plagued us for centuries. Ireland, 1845. Russia, 1921. China, 1959. And yet even in these states of
America,
hunger,
the Great Depression.
when people's teeth were gnawed and broken from eating leather and dirt,
Oh.
and animals had a feast...
Ew. I don't want to say ew to be like demeaning, but that's sad. They were gnawed and broken from eating leather and dirt, and animals had a feast. Chewing on leather just because you're that hungry. I can't even imagine that. That would tear
the
your
bones
teeth
and rotten
up.
flesh of human remains.
Oh.
Very few have ever seen hunger. Few have seen the Wendigo. All the Wendigo ever feels is hunger, for it is hunger. You may have heard of the Wendigo, seen drawings of it, but for the few have seen it, for most it was the last thing they ever saw. I haven't seen it. No. Thank God I haven't seen it. Yet the blood that runs in my
I
family...
feel like this person definitely likes poetry or something, or like just horror stuff in general, because they are typing this out. Like, they are hyping him up, dude. They are writing this with a passion.
...have seen it, stared at it in its hollow eyes. This is not my story. This is my father's. When I was around the age of 15, he told me to sit down next to him, pointing to the brown cloth chair. I was old enough to know, he told me.
Wolverine's been around for well over a century.
All right, dude.
Because we give those who do one simple...
Why he never lets me set foot in the woods. Why we never go up north, especially never when it's winter.
Do they live in Michigan?
I recorded it all. He requested for that, wanted a record of what happened to him, to make sure no one else went through it like he did. This is what he told me. My father's story. He takes out a cigarette and clicks a lighter until a small blaze and puts the small
Kinda wish we just had the video.
cigarette, taking a puff before starting. My uncle decided it was time for me to visit the Great Lakes forest. Told me the woods were some of the most beautiful in the whole country. It took a lot of convincing until your grandfather decided it was fine for me to visit the north. Of course, when he made the decision, it was winter by then. The winter down here is a light breeze compared to the freeze up in the north. Cold days and dark, icy nights. It's a wonder how the Native Americans managed to survive the months of thick snow and the creatures that came with it.
Yeah, that's what one of those
He pauses to take another
came
puff
from.
of a cigarette before continuing. This didn't stop my uncle, who had prepared in case we had to go during the winter, for both me and him as if we were going to the Arctic. Thick, puffy jackets, fat boots, and gloves as well as goggles in case we came upon a storm on the walk, as well as bear spray if we came across wild animals. He also packed something else, a .50 caliber Action Express Desert Eagle, the ones
he had a
those
Desert
cops
Eagle?
use in the movies. He didn't actually expect to use it. It was just in case we came across a bear or a lynx, and things got close and personal. He pauses and stares at his right leg. He definitely didn't think we needed it for something different. It was around mid-November when we took the plane to the state of Michigan.
Up north. I lived in Michigan my whole life. So when they said up
He had
north, that's what I
purchased
first
a
thought of.
standard hotel room in a small town. He refused to mention its name. And we spent a few days simply getting used to the sceneries of where we were. My uncle's right. It was beautiful, actually. I don't even think the word beautiful cuts it. I could see the edge of the forest by my window. They were tall, like long hairs protruding from the head of Mother Nature, and along those hairs lied the fleas, squirrels, chipmunks, birds, and the occasional wolf and fox would pass by, before disappearing in the shadow of the trees. I'll tell you, even now I do miss seeing the trees, watching the wind blow the tall branches in harmony. He sighs and puts out a cigarette on his wooden chair, but I know I can never go back there. Almost every day we went on hikes, with the snow crunching beneath our feet, stopping every so often to witness the wildlife. Once or twice we came across a bear. I was scared, of course, but my uncle had faced plenty in his time living there, so of course he knew what to do. Don't look them in the eyes, he would whisper to me, as he pulled out his bear spray just in case, and eventually he would move along, searching for some berries to eat. It was around our second week there when my uncle decided to take me on my first night walk, so we put on our coats, snow boots, and brought along the Desert Spray and Desert Eagle. It was somehow even more gorgeous in the dark than it was in the day. The stars float above us like fireflies, welcoming us to the forest. As the moon, as big and bright as it ever, hovered above us. We walked until we came upon a fork in the path. We usually would go left, as it much longer, so we would experience the forest longer. But it was a lot colder than usual, so my uncle decided it was best to get back sooner than later. For some reason, the colder weather did hang in my mind for longer than it should have. Although the weather would be unpredictable, the weather news where I was more accurate than the ones down in the north. This thought slept in my mind eventually, reasoning that every news channel got it wrong eventually. So we continued, but as we went in, it just kept getting colder.
Well, I don't know how you're that much of a moron. Even if you don't think it's going to happen, just go back just in case, especially if it's this cold. If you're from Michigan, it gets cold, so if you're like that concerned about it, don't even risk it.
and colder. By this point, my uncle repeatedly kept looking up at the sky with a bewildered look on his face. Looking up, I saw not a single cloud in the sky, nothing to indicate a snowstorm was coming or anything that would cause the weather to get this cold. Soon my uncle put me close to him to make us warmer. It wasn't a long hike back, just a mile or more. Then it was clear something was wrong, more than the weather. As we kept walking, we stepped, fast steps. My uncle jerked his head in that direction, instinctively pulling out his bear spray. Looking past him, I could clearly see several pairs of eyes in the shadows of the trees, moving fast, moving towards us. My uncle had quickly raised the bear spray and put himself in front of me, screaming to get packed. Looking over, I could now clearly see it was a wolf, mouths open, panting and stamping its feet on the ground, creating loud cracks as the snow fell beneath them. Looking up, my uncle had his finger straight on the bear spray trigger, ready to blast them straight in the shouted faces. Then the wolves ran right past us. I mean, right past us. They were maybe 10 feet away from us at most, moving so fast I could feel a small gust of wind push past against my face. My uncle put down the bear spray and looked around Dusty, in complete utter confusion encompassing his whole face. That's when I saw more eyes. He motioned his hand in a circle around him. There had to be dozens of critters and birds running. They didn't even stop to look at us. They were just running. All the animals I had.
That's what I've heard about. That's what I've heard about a lot of stuff. Like the wilderness will stop for stuff. Bigfoot. The wilderness will just go silent if he's watching you. So if these things are real, it's really creepy how much like control they have and power.
Feared all the critters and birds and all sorts of things in the woods I stared at in amazement just days before. All of them are running. I had never seen anything like it in my life, nor did my uncle. He decided that it was time to go. Most likely because whatever the animals were running from was something that we didn't want to come across. Now, my uncle was someone that doesn't get scared easily. From the stories your grandfather told me, he had faced death more times than he could count, coming across an angry grizzly, a hungry pack of wolves, and even someone pointing a gun at him straight in his face. Even then, I didn't see fear in his face, but looking into his eyes, I could see worry, and that was enough I needed to know. Our standard walk had turned into a jog, with Uncle deciding that it would be fast to go off the trail through the woods. On the trail, there was a clear opening overhead for the light of the moon and stars to shine through, but off the trail, the pine needles blocked most of the light that came through, with small beams piercing the thick hide here and there. My uncle just kept walking straight towards the town. He probably just had a half a mile left when he suddenly stopped, making me bump into his back. He didn't move, didn't even make a sound, almost like he had stopped breathing. "Uncle?" I asked in a squally voice. I looked ahead of him, my heart pounding against my sternum as it pumped blood like a bicycle pump.
It's definitely an unk thing to say. A squally voice and pumped blood like a bicycle pump.
Up ahead was the outline of a person. Though it was too far away to see any facial features or any features at all, it was, I don't know, 30 seconds before my uncle started backing up, gesturing me to do the same. "Hello?
Ew.
Can we help you?" I heard a tremble. It was a small one, but it was enough to tell me everything I needed to know. My uncle, one of the coolest people I've ever known, was scared. Slowly, ever so slowly, my uncle put his hand behind his back, moving towards the bear spray. But my eyes nearly popped out when his hand went past the bear spray and moved towards the gun.
Quite concerning.
Up ahead, I heard what sounded like a small twig break, and breaking eye contact with my uncle's hand, looked forward back at the figure. He had taken a step forward, stepping on a small branch that poked out of the layer of snow. And with that step, there was a new feeling in the air. It wasn't the cold, it wasn't fear, it was hunger, an almost lustful amount of hunger. "Look," my uncle said, as his hand still gradually moved towards the Desert Eagle. "We don't want any trouble. We're just trying to get back to town, so if you could please..." He didn't get to finish his sentence. By this point, my father stopped looking at me, instead looking out the window. It all happened.
Uncle was having flashbacks. I did that though.
Happened too fast. First, there were the steps. Fast, rampant. Each step came with a snarl. It was too fast for my uncle, too fast for me to process. What came next was the gunshot. It rang off the trees, bouncing back into my ears, making them ring like a church bell. He got one shot off before it got to us. One shot off before it made him scream. It slammed into him, flinging both me and his gun to the left, slamming me on the ground with a loud thud, which knocked the wind right out of me. Oh God, the screams. It didn't kill him quickly. I didn't see it happen.
It killed. Okay, he must have been. Okay, if this is a real story, he must have been a decent age, because there's no shot. If you saw your uncle die, even if you didn't see it happen directly, but you saw him dead, and you were of that age, I don't think you're making it home. Especially with the Wendigo right there, you're not making it home.
But I heard the crunch of teeth growing through flesh and meeting bone. It probably stopped there for a second to savor the taste of blood against its rotten teeth before it continued. I'm glad I didn't see it happen, but I could well damn hear it. Splish and splash as blood poured on the ground as it continued to sink its teeth into his flesh, seemingly hard for it to hold back. It had enough of the taste, now it wanted to eat. Crunch after crunch came, following by tearing and popping sounds. I think it was pulling the organs out of his stomach. Don't know how long I had my eyes closed.
That would stay with you forever. You would never forget
But
that.
the moment I opened them, I was facing away from them and looking at the light that bounced off a silver object, the Desert Eagle. I stood up, still shaken from the fall. The funny thing was I wasn't scared. My brain must have taken a hit, making it difficult for me to process what was happening behind me. I took a casual step forward, towards the gun, cracking the snow beneath my feet, and that's when the crunching stopped. That's what I remember where I was. We both turned around at the same time. Its eyes met mine, and my eyes met it, if you could call them eyes. I say this because I didn't even know if they were eyes. They were black and hollow and black. I say black because all there was in those eyes was black. Then there was the rest of its body. I couldn't believe the thing that did that to my uncle was unbelievably skinny. Its ribs poked out of its chest. Bones clearly seen through its slender arms and legs. There were antlers that looked like that of a deer, protruding from its head. He pauses and thinks for a moment. No, it wasn't a head.
Well, it's creepy because, like, I've seen images and stuff, but I mean, that would still be surreal in person. Like, I would be, especially at 9 feet tall, like, it's towering over me. Almost double my height.
It was a skull, because that's what it looked like. A skull with deer antlers coming from the top of its head. And even as it crouched, I could see it was tall, even towering over me in that stance. He both stared at each other for what felt like hours before it turned back around and continued eating what was left of my uncle.
Ew.
Did it even care that I was there? Why didn't it just attack me next? Just get it over with? I didn't stop to ask these questions. I just turned, picked up the gun, and ran. For a second I considered taking a shot, but I didn't know if my bullet my uncle shot at it hit it. If it did, then I don't think the bullets affected this thing. All I knew was I had to get away. So I kept running and running and running. What probably took just 10 minutes felt like an eternity. And then I saw the lights of the town.
If he was a teenager or something and he booked to the town, he probably, I mean, even if you're a few years younger than me, I would have made it back to town.
I'm gonna make it,
Most
I
likely.
thought. Hope creeping up my spine and into my brain. And that's when I heard the distant footsteps. I turned around for a split second and felt that hope come crashing down all the way to my toes. There it was, probably just 1,000 meters away. I could see its eyes. They weren't glowing or anything, they were just so black they stood out even in the darkness. And it was running fast. I couldn't believe my eyes how fast this thing was running. I would bet all the money I have that this thing could easily be. Steps just kept getting closer and closer. Now today I understand why it didn't eat me before, because it knew that no matter how much I tried to run, it would never fail to catch me. And it did. A jolt of pain tore through my leg when it clamped its teeth into my leg.
No.
The teeth reaching my femur and making a small crack in it. This thing had unimaginable strength to pick me up in its mouth and flung me several dozen feet. I landed head first. Shock and pain staring
You mean to tell me he survived?
at my head. spreading throughout my entire body. But soon the pain was going away, as I felt myself slipping away out of consciousness. In the background, I heard it crunching, savoring the little bit of meat it got out of my leg. This is it. This is how I'm going to die. I believed it. I truly believed it, but then I heard it. Get up. It was my uncle. You aren't going down that easy, are you? The words were all I needed. Every emotion in my body, hopelessness, fear, sadness, despair, were all replaced by one. Rage. I turned around and pointed the gun, which I managed to keep a hold of, and pointed it straight at its face. It turned.
I thought lore-wise, Wendigos couldn't die unless they got shot in the heart with steel or burned alive.
I was seemingly shocked that I had a weapon in my hand, but soon after it charged. I wasn't aiming for anything, just pulled the trigger, almost seemingly in slow motion. I saw the bullet fly and go straight into the void that was its eyes. Time stopped for just a second. Then it stumbled backward, grabbing its face, and I heard it scream. For the first time in the recording, I saw fear flicker in my father's eyes, and then he continues. When I saw it open its mouth, I expected a monstrous bellow or a loud shriek. But what came out was worse. It wasn't the sound of a monster, but the sound of a people. Hundreds of people. Men and women screamed in pain and agony. The elderly shrieked in terror. I could hear babies crying and toddlers screaming, as if they were denied a toy. But one scream remains in my mind forever. The only reason I can't ever forget what happened to that day, because I heard a specific scream come out of its mouth. The scream of my uncle. The rage was gone and the terror returned. I got back up and continued running towards the light. I didn't want to get away from it. I just wanted to get away from the horrible screaming. But I couldn't. I just couldn't. No matter how fast I ran, the dream stayed the same. But then it changed, for it was no longer screaming of pain, but screams of rage. I continued running. I had to get away. I wanted to. I needed to. My femur's crack was continuing to grow as I continued running. My legs pressed against my rib cage as my body demanded a huge amount of oxygen that the lungs could not provide. I remember bursting through the woods, welcomed by the bright street lamps.
Could you just imagine
and the hard
this?
pavement
I
beneath my
couldn't.
boots. And when I had burst through out of the woods, my body had used up all its strength and I fell. The last memory I got before blacking out was a screech of tires, a man looking over me on the phone, and before I lost consciousness,
Very coincidental.
I turned my head and turned towards the woods.
Very lucky that he was there.
I saw it, standing there, one eye closed, and the other empty eye staring at my own. I didn't need to see its face to know what it felt. It was angry, it hated me, and it was still hungry. I woke up the next day in the town's hospital. By that time, I had been out for 3 days, and your grandfather had flown over after he heard the news. I was greeted with his tears and his warm hug after he saw me awake. I told him and everyone else everything, about the thing, about Uncle, everything. They didn't believe me, probably thought the number of hits I took on my head made me reimagine a little old bear.
That would actually make me drive me insane. Cause you know,
as a monster. They did send out a search party, however, didn't find it, but found my uncle. The rumors spread how every bit of flesh, blood, organ, and even the bone marrow was stripped clean, and all that was left was a clutter of bones. He sighs. That Wendigo was probably still out there, continuing to eat innocent people, continuing to hate me for being the one that got away. And there's more out there. More that will not stop until they are full. And they are never full, and never will be. He pauses. The most disturbing thought I have had is that one of my uncle's voice in my head when the Wendigo had me on the ground. Sometimes I think, was it actually my uncle's voice telling me to get up? Or was it that thing telling me to get up? Wanting me to put up a little more fight so it could make the kill so much better. And alright, that wraps up the Reddit Wendigo Encounters
W video. Peace, y'all. Good night.